Joe Rogan Podcast. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
So what's up, man? Dude, if I didn't know who you were and I ran into you, I would have no idea that you're the same guy.
It's crazy.
You're a fucking completely different human.
Yeah.
You went from this guy that looked like you were really in bad shape to a guy who looks like a guy I'd avoid in jiu-jitsu. I'd be like, fuck that guy. Let me get away from him. He's too big. You look fucking great,
That's
man.
awesome. This is the greatest compliment I've ever gotten. Thank you very much. By the way, all I want is to look like a big dude who's not just gigantic and fat. That's all I want.
Dude, you look like a gorilla. You look like a dangerous human being. Like, how did you do it?
Well, over the past 20 years, I've gone back and forth with dieting. I've lost a shitload of weight. I've gained a shitload of weight back. How did I do it? I think that the thing that I've done that has been sustainable is undoing kind of – look, a lot of diets come in and say, just do this and you'll lose weight. But we're not focused at all on how we got to whatever point we were at that we consider non-optimal that we want to change. And so undoing the bad habits that I had that I would associate with allowing myself to get up to 550 pounds is really more important than anything that I could say, this is what I did to lose weight. Does that make sense?
Yes. So when did the process start? So you kind of went back and forth, but you've obviously been on a very steady course for how long now?
20 years. 19 years. 2002 was the first time I thought I really want to change my life, and I started then.
And how much weight have you lost since then?
2002, I went from 550. I did a liquid diet for 2 months and lost 80 pounds. That 80 pounds I've never dipped back into. But so I was 450, and I went down to close to just under 300, then went back up to 400, then went down to 200, then back up to 350. And for the past 5 years, I've been around the weight I'm at now. So I've really gotten that under control.
And what are you at right now?
270.
That is incredible. That is so incredible. So you've lost more than 200 pounds.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
solid.
I've lost 200 pounds a couple of times.
But you've also put on muscle. Like you're a different, you're different, like you're unrecognizable.
Yeah, I think, listen, the other strange thing about weight loss is when you're building fat and you're storing fat, your body is naturally building lean tissue too, just to support that fat. So under every obese person, there's a person with more than average muscle. So
because they have to carry around all their weight.
Yeah, you're naturally building muscle just by like raising your heavier arm than
I used
the
to always say
average.
that to Ralphie May. Because Ralphie May was so heavy, and I was like, look at your legs, dude. I go, you'd be able to kick someone through a fucking wall if you just lost weight.
Yeah.
Like, is the just to be able to carry around.
I have gnarly calves.
I bet you do, dude.
Yeah. I that's one of the few things that like I train sometimes with bodybuilders now, and my coach is a professional bodybuilder, Jared Feather, shout out to him. And he has a lot of calf emphasis, and I'm like, I don't really need to do that, bro. My calves are good.
Yeah, you carried around 500 pounds for years.
Yeah.
Let's go to can you show me a photo of Ethan when he was at his heaviest? So has this affected your work? Because, you were getting roles for so long as an actor when you were large.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it has. There was a time, if we go back to like 2015, and I had been really thin. And when I say really thin, I mean 200 pounds. But for me, that was extraordinarily thin.
That's what I weigh, which is crazy. And you're a lot bigger than me. It's crazy to see.
I thought I looked gaunt.
God. Look at those two fucking pictures. Like if a girl broke up with you when you were on the left and then ran into you, at the fucking airport when you were on the right. I mean, that is bonkers, man.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, truly incredible.
That's my favorite picture, and that's not even downlighting. I was an idiot, and I'm not super thrilled with my hair and my head, and I wouldn't shave my head because I thought the hat looked better with a little bit of hair poking out, and then it got in the way of down lighting. So that's not
funny.
even as good a picture as it could have been.
Down lighting. That's what everybody wants for abs.
Yeah.
They want down lighting.
Yeah.
See the guns. So your training regimen must be like pretty strict. Look at that fucking picture. That is so bananas, dude.
Yeah.
What movie is that from?
Remember the Titans.
Wow.
Yeah, that wasn't even the heaviest.
That's not the heaviest?
I mean, I was probably close to 500 there, but no, that's not even the heaviest. I don't know what to point to. Like, this picture down here is, I believe, after Remember the Titans, and I'm certainly a little bit heavier. Yeah.
Wow. When you look at that and you know how far you've come, I mean, it has to be incredibly satisfying.
It's incredibly satisfying, but you know, look, the reality is that I have mental illness, and I don't look at myself and think like, God, I look great. I see nothing but negative stuff every day, and I try to convince myself. I try to find something that I'm happy with. Usually it's my traps. I can look at my traps because it's lean. There's not a bunch of loose skin hanging there. They're not all scarred up from surgeries. And I look at my trap and I go like, okay, that looks good. And based on that, I can then start to feel okay about myself. Looking at those pictures, you know, that's also a long time ago. And I just I cannot relate to how I lived then.
Wow.
It's very bizarre.
Now, when you say you have mental illness, meaning that you're aware of this, right? So you're aware you have a distorted perception of yourself.
Yeah, very much so.
And what do you think what's fueling that distorted perception?
When I go back to like my childhood, I was put on a diet when I was 5, and prior to that, I had no sense of self. I existed, and clearly I had fun and I played, but I was not aware of my body as a thing, kind of, if it is external to me, as a separate component to me, or just as a thing itself. It just was. And at 5, I was put on this diet, and all these parts of me were pointed out as being super negative. And so I just...
At 5 years old.
Yeah. And I really... And by the way, in fairness, if you look at the average 5-year-old today, I wasn't obese at 5. I was a chubby 5-year-old, but I was super active, and I wasn't eating junk food all day long.
And you're growing into your body, too. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing about 5-year-olds. It's like, I've seen kids that look kind of chubby, and then you run into them a few years later, like, look at you, you're a beanstalk.
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
you grew.
I have 4 kids myself, and you watch them, they kind of go in different directions,
Yeah.
wide and then tall. And there isn't a set thing. But I spent most of my life feeling wrong, like literally that I was wrong or bad, or there was some just super negative about myself. And so I still have to fight through that today. Like, no matter what I've done, I 2012, I went and rode every stage of the Tour de France, or 2011 maybe, just for fun, and I could do that on a bicycle. That's not fucking easy. That's thousands of miles on a bicycle in a very short period of time. I was much thinner than I am now, and I was miserable. I was not happy.
Why were you miserable?
I didn't like the way I looked. I still thought I was fat, and I was 70 pounds lighter than I am now.
So it's body dysmorphia.
Yeah, something
Yeah.
like that. But I think being aware of it, I can talk myself through it. It's not like I'm hung up on it every day walking around feeling like a piece of shit.
Right.
But I do catch certain glimpses of myself and feel bad and feel negative.
See, this is the argument against fat shaming. And I've always said that, you know, I've had I've never been really overweight, but I've been fatter than I am now. I've had a belly. I got fat for a little bit, but it's a joke. Like, I would, you know, I should be slapped for saying that, right?
A couple pounds on you. I mean, yes, I don't think so. Whatever you want for yourself, I think is what you should do.
But I looked at it and I was like, oh, fuck, I got to lose some weight. And I went on this carnivore diet and I lost like 12 pounds. But the point is that worked for me. But I'm not in this mental state where I'm constantly judging myself. And some people are. And it's not their fault. You know what determinism is?
Sure.
Yeah. Some people don't. There's an argument of free will versus determinism. And I think there's a real good argument for both. But the argument for determinism is you are who you are. I should explain this. The idea is determinism is essentially based on the idea that you're a product of all of your life experiences. And the idea that you're responsible for everything you do at every step of the day, that's not entirely plausible because there's childhood trauma, there's life experiences, there's emotions, there's genetics, there's what you've had from all these life experiences that you've tried to assimilate, and those are different than my life experiences, and everybody's are different. And who you are right now. Like someone said to me one day, and it was kind of a compliment, I could never do what you do. Like I could never do what you do. I go, you could if you were me.
Right.
It's not like I'm not saying there's nothing special about me. I am just who I am because of my life experiences and my genetics and all the things I've done. And you are who you are for all your life experiences and who you've done. And to expect someone who has had bad input and bad emotional guidance and bad perceptions of their own physical health and their identity, to accept them to just get their shit together is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It really is. But they can do it. Some people can do it.
Yeah.
You obviously did it. And that's probably the best piece of fuel and inspiration for anyone out there that's looking to get their life together physically, metabolically, healthy. What's the best? The best is someone who is at rock bottom, who is 500 plus pounds and worked their way back to, like I said, a guy I would avoid in jiu-jitsu class.
I love that.
I mean, it's really what it is.
really
I'm like,
the
fuck that
greatest
big guy.
compliment.
Get away from me, dude.
Yeah.
But that's what you did. And I think in that you can help so many fucking people. But you are a gift in so many ways because what you've done is so extraordinary. The accomplishment is it's magnificent. I mean, it really is. It's an amazing accomplishment. Not just because of your own personal health and what you've done and the way you look, which is incredible achievement, but you're fuel, man. You're a rocket fuel for all these other people.
Yeah.
Because they look at you and go, I can do that.
Yeah.
I can do that. If
and
they can.
They can. Yeah, certainly. I think you had him on the show too. Robert Sapolsky makes a great argument for determinism.
He does.
He's the guy who I read and I go, oh shit, I don't have free will.
Right.
But I think that as my perspective shifts, I do today feel as though I have free will. I have to battle through everything that makes me me still, but I can do that and I can win.
Yeah.
There was certainly a point where the momentum was such in the other direction that I failed time and time again. And again, it kind of always came down to I wasn't addressing how I arrived in the state I arrived at. I was addressing how do I lose weight, thinking that was the only piece of the puzzle that I was missing. And so once I'd lose weight and I'd wake up and go, well, none of the habits that I had cultivated for decades to get me to this bad place or this place that I deem non-optimal have been addressed. And by not addressing them, they still exist. And now here I am repeating this cycle over and over and over again. Today, I have whatever version of free will I feel that I have. I feel very confident in decision making because I can kind of work through these ideas. But there was a long time where it is tough to have the attitude with somebody who's in the middle of it and just go like, just make a decision. It's a rough position to put them in because you can make that decision 100 times and fail.
It's also your body is trying to trick you into sabotaging your progress.
Yeah.
Which is really one of the most fucked up things about the weight loss addiction, which makes it so much more difficult than I think most addictions, is that you have to eat.
Yeah.
You don't have to gamble.
Right. Or do drugs.
Right. But do you know anyone who's a gambling addict?
Yes.
It's really fascinating because it is a drug.
Yeah.
But it's a weird drug. It's a drug that your brain makes.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know anyone who was a gambling addict until I started playing pool. And then I was hanging around this pool hall. When I was like 22, 23 years old, there's a place called White Plains Billiards in White Plains, New York. Executive Billiards, rather, in White Plains, New York. And Executive Billiards was a full-on degenerate pool hall. It was just guys that were gambling, a lot of guys who lived in flop houses. They always had like $10 to their name, and they would bet that $10 and then try to bum money off of people. I mean, and it was, as a young guy who came from sports, came from martial arts, and I was, I was like goal oriented, and I was trying to be very disciplined in my life. To see these guys live like this, I was like, wow, this is crazy. Yeah. I just enjoyed the game of pool, so I was trying to learn this game, and these guys that were really into it were also degenerate gamblers, and almost all of them. I mean, to a man, they were degenerate gamblers. And to watch these people get jazzed up for gambling and for bets, they would bet on anything, man. Raindrops going down a window pane. They would gamble on which drop. Like
you see their eyes glaze over a little bit.
Oh my God! They just wanted that fix. Yes, fuck yeah, and they'd win. I mean, crazy. They would gamble on cards. They would roll dice. They would do anything. They would gamble on shots, make a shot, set a shot up. They would give people crazy games. But it is 100% a drug. But it's a drug you can avoid. Yeah. Just don't go to the pool hall. Talk to a counselor. It seems like an easier one to get away from. But the food one's crazy.
Yeah.
Because you have to eat.
Yeah.
You have to.
There was a time when, and it's so bizarre that it came out and they modeled it after Soylent Green, which ultimately turned out to be people at the end.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen that movie.
It's from the 60s,
It's a long time ago. Yes. We haven't ruined anything, hopefully. But there's a Soylent drink, which is pretty bland, but they have and they design it to like, here's my weight and height and activity level, and they give you these drinks and you basically stop eating. And when I heard about that, I was like, fuck, because I'm sober, and I totally understand this kind of black and white, like when I'm doing something, I'm doing it 100%, whether that's eating cheeseburgers at 4 a.m. or, scoring Coke and drinking a lot. If I can just give up food and drink this Soylent shit for the rest of my life, maybe I'm solved. Maybe that's the key to me. But I don't think that's even really a realistic thing to do.
No, I don't think that's the key. I mean, I think it's a tool, and you can use tools to kind of help you bridge gaps in between where you are and where you want to be. But it's like, who are you? Are you, I mean, for some people, that's not a good tool. For some people, it is. It's that we have to come to grips with the fact that human beings are so different from each other. We're so similar and yet so different. And so much of your life experience and your genetics and all these different things determine who you are currently. And to say, just get on this Soylent drink for someone who just craves the flavors of food. And, Action Bronson was on the podcast recently, and he's a chef.
Yeah.
So for him,
real tough.
Yeah, real tough. But he also had a son. And when he had a kid and he realized he was ridiculously overweight and sedentary and wasn't doing anything, and now he's a fucking beast. That guy trains so hard. He trains every day. One of the first things he did when he booked the show out here, he said, hey, I need a gym to go to. And I said, go to my gym, On It Gym's just down the street.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of ways from here. We'll set you up. We'll get you a trainer. I worked out with him. He fucking works out hard, man. He goes after it.
Yeah.
He really does. I was really impressed.
I worry sometimes for some people that trading or trying to handle being obese with exercise, for me, that's a scary proposition because I've done that. And the minute that you miss a workout or miss a few or you hurt yourself, if you haven't adjusted your food, you're gaining weight again.
Yeah.
So I really do. I train every day. I take a day off a week, but and it's very important to me to get into the gym. But I do that because it makes me feel better.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I guess I do it for fitness, and I guess I do it for health. I do it for all those things, for sure, but I really do it for my head.
Yeah, me too.
I feel, I'm a broken record. People don't even know what a broken record is anymore. These fucking kids today. They don't. You don't know.
Broken MP3.
Have you ever heard of broken record? You ever heard of record skip? You fucking young Jamie. But the message is really clear. People out there that are not exercising, you're doing your brain a disservice more than anything. I know it sucks. I know you don't want to do it. But if you can do it, it'll relieve so much anxiety. When I talk to people that are on anti-anxiety medication or SSRIs and all these different things, my first question is always, do you exercise?
Yeah.
And they'll look at you like you're talking to a cancer patient, like, how'd you do this? How'd you get there? Right. Why do you have cancer, man? Like, that's not... I'm just saying, listen, if you exercise, I guarantee you feel... It might not fix everything,
right,
but it'll fix a lot for a lot of people.
Yeah. And for me, it started with just taking a walk. Like, when the idea of exercise was insurmountable, just how far can I walk? And then can I walk a little further the next day? And then can I beat that? And I'm saying, like, when I'm used to just walking to my car from my front door, can I walk past my car? Literally, if that's it. At 550 pounds, it might be that small.
Right.
But if you go into it with the attitude of setting goals, and you see that you can achieve this goal, and then you can beat it, and you can go a little further, I wouldn't use that to address weight loss, but just to feel that you can accomplish something with your body is a big deal.
There was a lady that I used to yoga with, and I watched her lose about 100 pounds in a year.
Wow.
It was incredible. And I remember I brought it up to her, and I was trying to figure out how to bring it up to her because I could tell she got like super uncomfortable. And I was like, shit. Like, I'm trying to be nice here, but I'm addressing the fact that she was gigantic and now she's just big.
Right.
And I said, I don't remember what I said, but it's something along the lines of, I think your consistency is incredibly inspirational. I said, I think it's awesome. You're in here all the time. But I mean, by saying that, I'm saying...
You're acknowledging.
Yeah, I'm acknowledging that there's an issue, you
Yeah.
know, and it makes a lot of people feel uncomfortable. They'd rather just be invisible.
Yeah.
You know, but I had to.
I spent the majority of my life trying to be invisible, trying to, I wore shirts at the beach, which made me feel like I was covered up. I mean, you look at the white fucking shirt with water, it's a wet t-shirt. You can see through it. It's not hiding anything.
Right.
But it made me feel less present. I have terrible posture simply because I try to be smaller, right? And now, like, you call me a gorilla, it makes me feel good. When I was 500 pounds, had you called me a gorilla, I would have been like, oh my God, this is awful, because gorillas are big. Yeah. And it's just a weird thing. But I think... I think it's nice to acknowledge people when you see something, and God, what a wonderful way you did that by just saying her consistency. Like, you're acknowledging everything. You're not pointing out to her that there was anything wrong with her. You're simply stating, like, you admire what she's doing. I think that's a kind way to acknowledge somebody.
I was trying to be kind, and I was being really honest. She really is impressive. It was just... It's amazing to watch someone just decide at some point in time, enough is enough, I'm going to do something. And that lady was in there every day. And I wasn't in there every day. Yeah. I was only going to yoga a couple days a week. And I'd go in there, I'm like, again? You're here again?
Yeah.
She was such a nice lady, too. And then the instructor said, how much have you lost so far? And I think at that time, she was closing in on 100 pounds, which was amazing.
Yeah.
But, you could see the consistency was changing, like her practice, like for the beginning of the year versus the end of the year. She was deeper into poses. She could hold things longer. And this is hot yoga, too, which is, rough stuff. It's 105 degrees.
All forms of exercise, indoor exercise. The only time I thought I was going to potentially die was hot yoga. And the teacher said, we have one rule here. You cannot leave. If you can't do anything, you just lay down. And I laid down and thought, I'm going to lay here and die because I'm too scared to tell this teacher to go fuck herself because I'm not allowed to leave. And she said, we locked the door. I'll kick a fucking hole through the door. I laid there for the rest of the class with my heart rate jacked up and thought, like, I can't believe I'm going to allow myself to die in this sauna because this chick has a rule.
Yeah, but that rule's good for your head. It's not good for everybody. You really should have ice cold water. I bring a gigantic hydro flask, like a 64-ounce hydro flask, and it's mostly ice and water.
Yeah.
Like mostly ice and then water, and because it's going to melt during the class.
Right.
And I was like always trying to find the right level of ice to water. So the end of the class had a little bit of ice, but not much. But there's something about that too. There's a study they're doing right now. I believe it's at Harvard, where they're trying to figure out whether or not hot yoga mimics the same sort of effects in terms of heat shock proteins that sauna does.
Right.
Because sauna is insanely beneficial for you. But one thing it definitely does is it tests your brain in a unique way, because like you want to get out of there because you want relief. And then, but if you could talk yourself into not getting that relief until the end, you've got a victory. It's a victory for the day.
My victory was simply that I didn't die. And I was really convinced
you
I
only
was
did it
gonna
once?
die. I did it one time. And I did it after a spinning class. It was a very
Oh my
stupid
God.
move.
Jesus Christ. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was not smart.
Wow, that's a risky move. Spinning class is fucking hard.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
And then to go yoga after spinning class, that's preposterous.
It was awful.
I used to
Never again.
there's a couple times I did it, and I said, I can't do this anymore. I'm getting mauled. I would go yoga in the morning, then jujitsu at night.
Yeah,
And I would
that's
just
a
get
lot.
mauled.
Yeah.
I just like, I'm so tired of getting my ass kicked. Because I would be at like legit 60% of what I'm capable of. I was like, oh, I have no pop, no explosiveness. My
Yeah.
body's just so tired. My body's like, what are you doing, stupid? Like, you just killed me 5 hours ago, and now you're doing this?
You're in here doing this thing that can kill you also.
It's so good for your fucking head, though. That's how I feel about sauna, too. Like, one of the things that I like most about sauna is that I don't like it. I don't like the last 5 minutes are so hard.
Yeah.
You know, it's so rough because you're sitting there and every impulse you have is to get the fuck out of there. The door's right there. Like, what's wrong with you? Open that door and cool, jump in the shower, cold water, let's get free.
Right.
Nope. Stay. You have a timer.
I think that is the thing that I like about exercise, because I sometimes the night before I'm looking forward to it, like I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow, first thing I'm going to feel better. The morning of, I'm never super amped up to get to the gym and start working out. And there's always a little bit of struggle there. Mm-hmm. It's never something I'm close to losing the struggle on nowadays, but making it through is a big deal for me. And the fact that and when I string together a succession of making it through, the momentum carries me a long way. Any day that I miss it and I lose that fight, it's like a massive swing in the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm. Psychologically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that way too. I always am less enthusiastic about getting to a place where I have to work out with other people.
Yeah.
Which is weird. It's like that's the one where all of my bitch ass instincts are like, stay home, stop.
Right.
Oh, doesn't your back hurt or something?
Yeah.
Aren't you feeling tired today? You know, like, and people say, oh, you know, you work out so hard, you must be really disciplined. I'm like, I'm kind of disciplined, but I'm kind of lazy. Like, I'm like the most lazy, disciplined person you'll ever meet, because I always do it.
Yeah.
But I always don't want to, but I always do it. You know, I'm very consistent in my actions, but there's part of me, like, and David Goggins said that about himself. He was like, people think that it's easy for me. He goes, sometimes I look at my shoes, I stare at those motherfuckers for a half hour before I put them on.
Yeah. He's amazing.
He's
fucking amazing.
He's a monster.
I
He's a
hope
monster.
that people are watching him and going, if I need to use him just to walk to the bathroom, that's what I should use him for. Do you know what I
Yes,
mean? It
yes.
doesn't all have to be
Anything.
ultra marathons.
Right. Anything. Walk around the block. Anything.
Yeah.
Anything. Get work done that you need to get done. Don't just sit in your house. Sitting in your house and being lethargic is so fucking bad for you. There's something about like nature or genetics or whatever our code is, that when you're doing literally nothing, just laying around doing nothing, your body's like, what the fuck is the point? Like, what are we here for?
Yeah.
And what people don't recognize is, like, when you're laying around just watching television and then you shut the TV off and you feel like shit, like you are artificially stimulated for hours and hours just staring at things happening while you did nothing. And then when you shut it off, the reality of your actual day sets in, like, oh my God, I've done nothing.
Right.
But I thought I was doing something. I thought I was I was in a fucking Aston Martin being chased because I was James Bond.
Yeah.
And the guys are shooting. But no, you really weren't doing anything. But you're getting this weird fake stimulation. It's so bad for you. I'm not saying it's bad for you all the time. It's great when you've accomplished things and you feel good and you want to just enjoy something, give yourself a little reward. And I'm a firm believer in rewards. But man, when I waste a day, I feel like such a fucking loser.
It's awful. It's awful for me too. We arrive at a day and age where you can be a professional video game player. You can have all your food left on your doorstep. Have you watched television recently?
Yeah.
I hadn't watched television, just like network television, in years.
Oh, no, I don't watch that.
You put it on, the commercials are all medication and food.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's fucking crazy. Like,
the medication commercials freak me out.
Yeah. And there's so many. Like,
Talk to
I didn't
your
even
doctor.
know, like, there were these problems that existed
I
that
know.
have medicines now. Like, shit you never heard of.
It seems unethical, and it seems weird that it's allowed. Like, for sure, you know, we're only one of 2 countries on planet Earth that allows that.
I didn't know that. What's the other country?
New Zealand.
Wow.
United States, New Zealand's doing way better than us, by the way.
Right.
I think they're brushing it off a little easier, but
Yeah.
it just seems wrong. Like, your doctor should be the one telling you if you need fucking medication, and you should go to your doctor, because psychosomatic disorders are real.
Yeah.
You know, and also this idea that watching something on television in a commercial and you're like, oh, I have all those problems. Real simple, real clean. Talk to your doctor. Oh, I'm going to go talk to my doctor about this.
Right.
Like, what about hypochondriacs, man? What about crazy people? Like,
Yeah.
you just get fucking their head up all day long, which is a real problem with people. If you say to people, if you plant those seeds in their head, do you have this? Do you have that? Is this wrong? Do you feel bad about this? You're like, oh, do I? Maybe I do. We're so malleable,
Yeah.
you know, that to influence us with drugs, and then they hit you with side effects may include, and then they may include.
Right.
What if
And
they definitely included?
There's almost always colitis and rectal bleeding, and that's the one that I just go like, who the fuck wants to? That's not a trade-off.
And the thing is, it's like may include is weird, because what if it said always include? Like, take this, and this is definitely going to happen. You'd be like, I'm not taking that.
Yeah.
It might happen, but
Right.
it might not. Maybe you'll feel better. Maybe your toes won't hurt. You know, like, oh, Jesus.
Psychosis
Christ.
and colitis are the two where, like, I just go like, any problem I have,
Yeah.
I'll just, fix it with nutrition before I try this
Good
drug.
for you. Good
That's
for
what
you.
I'll try. Yeah.
But here's the thing. I'm kind of full of shit because I watch those commercials. They don't do shit to me.
Right.
I watch those commercials and, I can see some girl spinning around in the field, fields of wheat and flowers. I don't think I need to get on birth control. Like, it's like whatever she's on, it's not. So I'm kind of full of shit because it doesn't affect me. So why am I upset about it? Why do I give a shit?
Yeah.
Because this is the problem that I have with a lot of things that people are very upset about today. Like, whether it's conspiracy theories or whatever it is, there's people out there that want to protect other people from bullshit. And I get it. I get where they're coming from. But why doesn't it bother me? Like,
I think though that, and I think I know what you're talking about. I think we've come to another point where there's an assumption that we all have the exact same set of values.
right.
And like, when I hear people say, I'm siding with science, my first instinct is to ask when science developed a set of values or morals, because there's no scientific moral code. That doesn't exist. If you want to place some value on a scientific outcome, that's a human point of view. It's an opinion that forces that scientific outcome into a value system. And so if you sit back and you assume that everybody innately has the exact same set of values, then yeah, we can have these arguments based on science, not science. But if people don't necessarily have the same value system that you have, why would we want all this? Like, this is where I get into people who want to protect other people. And it's like, well, you're just assuming that all the things that you want are the things that they should want. And when I hear what people should want, I go like, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. Right now, it's slightly difficult to talk about weight loss because I've been obese and now I'm not obese, and I celebrate not being obese. I am much better off with the way I have structured my life because of having lost weight. But I can't tell anybody else to do that, and I don't even really want to. If somebody wants to be overweight, if that's a trade-off they're willing to make, that's fine with me. But I think for the most part, most of the people I've spoken to, they don't want that. A lot of people seem to have goals that generally line up with mine, and then in talking to them, now there's this diet culture monster in the room where even that is attacked because there's a whole new set of values that are born that must be enforced. And at some point, there's got to be the recognition that we don't all necessarily have to want the exact same stuff.
Yeah. There's also so much biological variability, right? Like,
yeah.
The things that would work on another person just don't work on you. You know, including diet. You know, there's...
Oh, man. Arguing about diets is another great one. And this, I really like talking about diets simply because there's, at the end of the day, it's so much safer than politics because there's no military backing up a diet system. But, you talk about politics and it's like, we have a fucking military to force you to do the shit we want you to do versus the other military that's going to force you the other way. But diets, it's like veganism versus carnivore. If we're just talking about weight loss, the other thing, some of these things get into like the minutia of health. If you've got a guy who's got 200 pounds to lose, why are we focusing on the minutia of health? I don't know that that's the right goal. If the goal is just weight loss, I don't think these are the same. These are the same conversations.
Yeah, I think the variety, there's so many different things that need to happen to a person to force them into action. What do you think is the key things? Is it inspiration? Is motivation? Is it that you don't want to die or you don't want to be sick any longer, that you're fed up? Or is it being inspired by a guy like David Goggins or Cameron Hanes or someone like that?
For me, for the very first time in my life, I was thinking about the future in a way in terms of what I wanted out of life versus just like what makes me happy right this second. And I was seeing a girl who I'm now married to. We have a bunch of kids, and I couldn't have a better life. Like 20 years ago, if I described to you the life I wanted in that moment, I've way surpassed that.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I have to take a step back occasionally and go, check you out. Look what you did.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing.
500 pounds, I was not thinking I can be a dad, I can be a husband, I could teach little kids how to do stuff. Like this was not part of my, I could take my wife on a hike. I could go to the beach with her and not, sit under a towel in the back because I'm scared of people looking at me. These were not the thoughts I was having. So that spark of motivation of like, what do I want out of life got me just so far, because after an extreme diet, when you've crashed your metabolism and you then, and by the way, your body is fighting against you tooth and nail doing these things because your body thinks you're starving to death.
Right.
And
so it's trying to slow everything down.
Slowing everything down. Over long periods, you're not just consuming fat, you're consuming fat and lean tissue. Like it's fucking tough. All your hormones are fucked up. I forget the name of the hormone, but there's a hormone that makes you hungry. This is skyrocketing when you're on an extremely caloric deficit diet. And so then you go to like just eating like a normal person and you're watching what other people eat and you're eating this and you're fucking putting on weight again, like at a rapid pace and going like, this doesn't make sense. I thought I was cured. I lost all this weight. I watched a really fascinating TED Talk by a guy named Mike Israetel about 5 years ago, 5 years ago. And in it, and I was dead convinced that I was allergic to carbohydrates. And so I was like, I'll never eat a carbohydrate for the rest of my life.
You thought you were allergic to carbohydrates?
I was convinced that everybody was gluten intolerant, that the way that we made bread in America with all the ingredients was just poisonous to the human body. I was totally convinced of this. And I watched this TED Talk by Mike Israetel, and in it, it's called the Dietary Landscape of Healthy Eating, and he just goes over like, just be moderate. That's it. Just like try to figure out moderation. Nothing's poisonous. Nothing's off. Like salt. If you have no salt, you can die. If sodium disappears from your diet, you can die. If you have too much salt, it can kill you. Like there's an amount, 5 grams, I think, at one time, and this was, I believe this study was done on small bodies, can kill you. It can be fatal. So is that poisonous or is it necessary? It's both. This is food for me. Like the way I was interacting with food, the idea that I'm a machine, like you're a car guy. You're not going to put diesel fuel in your gas car. You're not going to do that because it's going to break it. And I had to start really thinking about food in these terms and going like, I just have a bad relationship with food, a relationship that is giving me an outcome I don't want. How do I change that? Like utterly. The first carbohydrates I ate after 15 years basically of being convinced that I was allergic to them, I was fucking terrified that it was going to be like cocaine and I was not going to be able to stop myself. I was going to sit there with a bowl of rice.
That's crazy.
Lo and behold, rice or pasta without a bunch of oil and cheese is not fun enough to sit there and eat it like that. For me, maybe it is for somebody, but I couldn't do it. I got my cup of rice down and I was like, holy shit, I'm okay. I don't have to eat another cup. I don't have to eat the whole bag of rice. This was like night and day for me because for a long time I tried to address myself with the diet. And now I think diet is the most important aspect, but the other definition of diet, not restrictive, just how you eat.
Yeah. For performance, most people believe that carbohydrates are essential for peak performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
Even the carnivore ultramarathon guys, right?
Exactly, Zach Bitter. Yeah, Zach, who holds the world record for the fastest 100 miles run. He ran 100 miles, and I believe it was 11 hours and 40 minutes or some shit like that. Zach's a freak. I mean, he's a savage. And he takes in quite a bit of glucose while he's running. He uses glucose gels. He does a bunch of different things. But for the most part, he eats an animal-based diet.
Yeah.
And this is him.
I know.
There's other people that are doing it that are eating mostly pasta, and they can do that too.
I think at the end of the day, if you're a guy who the idea of giving up carbohydrates, if you need to lose a shitload of weight, and the idea of giving up carbohydrates, if you can't really see that as a long-term thing, fucking don't.
Right.
Don't do it.
What seems to work best for me, I've tried a bunch of different ways of eating. What seems to work best for me is meat and fish and vegetables. When I eat mostly just meat and fish and generally like salad or maybe sauteed broccoli or some sauteed broccolini or something like that, those things to me, it seems like I have zero issues with food. When I go off the rails, it's pasta.
Yeah.
I'm a fucking glutton, dude.
But it's not just pasta, right? It's pasta with lots of sauce, cheeses, creams.
Yes, keep talking. Let me take my pants off. Sausage.
Me too.
Yeah. That's the thing. I just can't stop eating it, man. I mean, I could eat a full steak, like a 16-ounce ribeye, and then if there's a bowl of pasta right next to it, I'll keep going. But if I just have the steak, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Steak and a salad, like I'm good. I'm done eating. I'm satisfied. But if that pasta's there, I'm like, and then my stomach will stick out. And I'll be in pain. I'll be like, it sticks out my sides. It's like, and I look at myself in the mirror. I'm like, you fucking slob. Like, what have you done to your body?
Yeah.
Because you've forced your body to eat this glue. You know, because when you chew it down, it's just paste. It's this like fucking bowl of paste you've stuffed in your sack.
I try to eat some pasta. Pasta's like the least of it, and I hate it without a ton of olive oil or Parmesan cheese. It's not fun, so it's not one of my go-tos, but I do have pasta or rice or whole grain bread or potatoes every day, a little bit. But for the most part, that's my diet. It's lean protein and vegetables.
I seem to have very little problem with rice. When I have rice, everything seems good. You know, it doesn't mean it makes me full, but I don't feel like shit.
Yeah.
You know, like rice seems to be no issue for me, particularly white rice. I was shocked when I found out that brown rice is actually not as good for you as
Harder
white
to
rice
digest,
is.
yeah.
And you're like, what?
How's that possible? No, we were lied to as children. They lied to us.
Well, it just seems like you're eating something whole grain, man.
Yeah.
It's like, look, man.
Dude, when gluten-free bread was invented, because this happened in the midst of me becoming gluten-free, and it was like a few years into it that suddenly it was like, there's a cookie shop, there's a bakery in West Hollywood that does gluten-free pastries, and then I was just like, oh my God, they're speaking to me, and I would go there every day, and I would eat muffins and cakes and shit, and I would go, it's gluten-free, and I would gain weight, and I'd be like, what the fuck is the problem?
Sugar.
There was no point that I was ever like, it's gluten for me has nothing to do with it. Now, if you have celiacs or Hashimoto's or something where gluten can mess with you, yeah, don't eat it. But, there's so many trendy diets that come out, and it's like you have a group of people that has failed so many times that they're desperate to just tell me the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Just sell me that. Tell me gluten. Tell me I'm allergic to gluten, and I'll give it up. And if that will do it, you know
what actually has low gluten but is fucking delicious is sourdough bread.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, which is kind of the best tasting bread.
I love it. Yeah.
My buddy Tom Papa makes sourdough bread, and whenever he comes over, he brings me some. Jesus, we make a deal. Like, I give him elk meat, he gives me sourdough bread. His fucking sourdough bread is so goddamn good.
Yeah.
You put butter on it, just the sourdough bread and butter.
That's
like,
incredible.
Or I'll put Nutella on it if I really want to go off the rails. It's so good.
It's so good.
But sourdough bread, something about the starter and something about the way, there's the yeast in the bread, or I
think the gluten consumes itself and then it becomes molecularly something else before you bake it.
Yeah.
When it's an actual fermented bread.
Right. And it's more delicious, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
So good.
Yeah. And then we have Wonder Bread that has 31 ingredients. And it's also good with bologna and American cheese, but like it probably has a shitload more calories. And what do you want from your body? Like, at the end of the day, what do you want from the food you're eating? Is it just entertainment? Because I like to be entertained by food. You know what I mean? Like, I like to go to a place and see a fancy thing that's got all the fucking oil and shit on it. I like that. That's fun.
A peanut butter and jelly sandwich with Wonder Bread, not bad.
Fucking incredible, dude. Incredible.
When I was a kid, we used to use Wonder Bread for fishing.
Yeah.
We used to catch carp with it. Because you take Wonder Bread, we used to buy a loaf of Wonder Bread, and we would roll up the Wonder Bread, the little balls, and put it on a hook and toss it out, and the carp would get it.
Yeah.
It was the best bait for carp.
I mean, it's either that or like worm guts. That's not the most discerning fish, I think, at that point.
Carps? Yeah, carps is an odd fish. They, they're really not supposed to be here. They're like, it's not native to a lot of places around here. Have you ever seen those people where they're driving boats and the carp fly out of the water and hit them in the head?
Yes.
It's Asian carp.
Yes.
It's like, for whatever reason, when boats come by, they want to fly through the air and slam into the people that are riding the boats.
It's incredible.
It's the weirdest thing, man. People have been knocked out.
Yeah.
Like out cold. Bam! Get hit by a fish.
It's a wonder that those fish are still around, that they haven't just evolved extinct.
There's so many of them.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They're so prolific. They're a real problem because they're one of the weirder invasive species. Like, I don't know how they got over here, but there's some lakes and river systems that are just choked with these. I think they're Asian carp. I think that's what it is, because there's that big red carp that I grew up. I lived in Newton, Massachusetts, and I lived right across the street from the Charles River. And the Charles River had this waterfall like down the street from my house. And I remember being there one day. We went on this little hike. Yeah. Yeah. Do you ever seen this?
I never saw it that crazy.
Bro, they're nuts.
That's like a mosh pit of carp.
Yeah. They don't. No one knows why they do it, or I don't know why they do it. Maybe someone does. But yeah, when you're driving by, they just go flying out of the water and hit people. And sometimes they just do it here, like they're just doing it on their own, and they land in the boats. But I don't think they're necessarily good to eat.
Right.
But obviously, there's fucking way too many of them.
So people need to eat them.
Yeah, so I go to... Are they edible? Are Asian carp edible?
In this video, they are making them. It says the highest population is in the Illinois River. And it doesn't say why. I'm sure the video does. But yeah, they're making like fish all sorts of stuff with it at the end here.
What are they doing with them?
Jesus.
Cooking it up.
Oh, they make like carp balls. So what they're look at all the
Lot of
bones in it.
bones.
Yeah, so probably what they're doing is putting it with dough and like a crab cake type deal.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was a crab cake, but I was like, wait, it's fish. I don't know.
What is she saying? She's gonna lie. Oh, delicious. You're putting a bunch of other shit on it, right? It's not like a piece of redfish. You just have to grill with some salt and butter.
Right. We have to add shit to our food.
When I got to this waterfall down the street from my house, it was just choked with carp. Like 30, 40, 50 carp just on the surface of the water. I'm like, this is nuts. But it's really because they're not supposed to be there.
Right.
Like, there's supposed to be an ecosystem, right? There's big fish. The big fish kill the medium fish. It's like there's a whole thing going on. In this place, there was not that thing going on.
They were just carp.
And they're big fucking 30, 40-pound carp. Like, some of them were this big, just floating around. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how, and then, you realize, like, someone released them in. And there's, like, in Lake Austin out here, there's a grass carp that I was just talking to a guy who's a fisherman who was telling me that it's a real problem on the lake because the grass carp have eaten all the grass.
Right.
So now the fish don't have cover. Like the bass, they want to hide, like so they can jump out and snatch up the other fish, but there's no place to hide. So now they're like, what the fuck?
So they're going to go.
Well,
and it'll be just grass carp at some point.
Maybe. Could be. But he said it's a real issue because like the bottom of the lake has no vegetation anymore. It's all been eaten by these carp. And you see the carp occasionally. Big fat suckers just like belly up, floating in the river, and you're like, whoa.
I mean, listen, there's got to be a healthy way to use those carp.
Well, you know what? Someone was just saying this, and it's a really good point, that like invasive species, if you just found a way to make it profitable to go after those invasive species, like that's the solution that they're trying to come up with the python in Florida. Because pythons are overrun in the Everglades. They're so bad in the Everglades that they've killed most of the mammal species and they've started to eat alligators. Like
Jesus Christ, really?
Crazy. There's a photo of this guy came upon, I think it was a 12-foot alligator being consumed by a python. That's how big they are. They killed all the deer. They've killed all the raccoons, all the rabbits. Anything that's on the ground is fucked by these pythons. But meanwhile, like commercially, python skin is illegal in California, as if they're endangered.
Right.
Like they're not endangered at all. Like California is so nuts.
So you couldn't ship python skin from Florida to California?
No, you cannot buy python goods from somewhere else and bring them to California. We're like, no, man, we just didn't believe in that. It's so dumb. It's like they're not endangered, not even a little.
Right.
And the idea that this like fucking sleazy reptile, like this evil fuck that would swallow a baby in a heartbeat, like that's what we're protecting?
Yeah.
But yet you can buy wool?
Right.
Lambs, you can just walk up to a lamb pet and they're sweet as hot. They're so nice.
If they did a python farm, you couldn't do that because they're endangered?
They're not endangered.
Right. I mean, in California.
It's just exotic. They call it exotic.
Right.
And then you can't get exotic. They're trying to make, I believe they might have made it recently illegal to bring an alligator, which is more preposterous. Because there's places in Louisiana and in Florida that are infested with alligators. So much so, if you ever watched that Swamp People show?
Yeah.
One of the guys on that show was talking about the tags, like the allocations of tags that means how many alligators you could kill per season. He's a commercial alligator. 500. They were giving him 500 alligators he could kill. That means there's so many alligators.
Yeah, that's insane.
When I was a kid, I lived in Florida for a little bit. We lived in Gainesville, Florida, and it was right near Lake Alice. And Lake Alice had alligators, but they were endangered at the time because I guess people like hunted them to the point where they had gotten down to very low numbers and they were trying to save the alligators. But they fucked up and saved them too much. And now they're just overrun. They just show up on golf courses. They're walking through people's backyards.
All they got to do is eat one little kid.
But they don't. That's not true. They ate a little kid in Orlando.
Did they?
At Disney World.
They grabbed a little kid
a
at
2-year-old
the theme park?
baby came out of the fucking pond at Disney World and snatched up a baby.
Wow.
Bro.
That's crazy.
That's the thing. You can't keep them out of lakes. There's so many of them. They slither in the middle of the night. You don't even know they're there.
Yeah.
Like they'll walk a few hundred yards. You didn't know they were in the woods. And then they walk a few hundred yards. They slide into the lake and they feel like little feet walking by the water, and they
And
just
that's
jumped
food.
out and snatched up this baby.
Can they make the jump to salt water like crocodiles or no?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I mean, that would if they started to mess with the beaches, that might get them shut down.
I don't know. People are weird. When we decide that something needs to be protected, we're like, we have to protect it, man.
Protect it
We
with
have to
all
protect
costs.
it forever and ever and ever. We
Yeah.
never let it go. Like they're dealing with that with wolves in some places. Like they reintroduced wolves into Yellowstone in the 1990s, and they spread through Idaho and all these different areas. And they've gotten to the point now where I think it was in Idaho, they just decided that they have to kill all the wolves except for like a small number of them. They have to get them down to like a few hundred wolves because there's so many fucking wolves. They're like decimating the elk populations, and they're encroaching into people's ranches and killing steers.
But they were endangered at some point.
Yeah. Well, they poisoned them to the point where at the turn of the century, they were virtually extinct. And then they had to go to Canada and bring wolves from Canada and then repopulate Yellowstone.
But isn't there a point where they can say, scientifically, we have determined that they are no longer virtually extinct, and scientifically that means some are on limits to hunt?
Oh, Ethan, you're talking logically.
This
You
does
can't
not
do that.
exist.
With my friend Steve Ranella, what he calls, what is it called? Charismatic megafauna. And that's what wolves are. They're charismatic. There's something about wolves.
Oh, they're cute. They're cuddly.
Well, they're majestic, man. I mean, I don't want wolves to go away. Wolves are fucking amazing. I've only seen one once in the wild, and it was in Canada. It was real blurry. It was at dusk. I saw this like dog-like thing run across the road. I'm like, oh shit, that's a wolf.
Right.
And they have a lot of them up there. It was.
I can't think of a single animal I want to go away. But when an animal like pigs in this state,
Oh yeah.
there's a lot of pigs, and
Yeah.
people have a lot of feelings about the way the pigs are hunted. But there's a lot of fucking pigs.
They don't have any feelings about the way the pigs are hunted in Texas.
The Texans don't.
They don't give a fuck.
California feels a lot of ways about the way pigs are hunted in Texas.
They're like, no, save them with the pythons and put them all in a happy family.
Right. They're one generation away from being Wilbur. Just domesticate all the pigs.
You know, that is the truth. That's what's weird about them.
Yeah.
What's weird about pigs is that if you took a regular pig, like a domestic pig, and you let it loose, within, I think, 5 or 6 weeks, they start to transform. And
Into
they-
those boars with the hair and the
Yeah,
tusks.
that's what's crazy is that they're the same animal. It's all one genus. It's called Suscrofa, and all of them are the same. Domestic pigs are just wild pigs that have been domesticated. Like if you take a domestic pig, they look all pink and white, and you let them go, their snout elongates, their tusks lengthen, and it happens quick.
Right.
Like, do you ever heard of Hogzilla?
Yes.
Yeah.
The gigantic one.
Yes. Hogzilla is there's a lot of thoughts on Hogzilla. It's a super controversial animal because a lot of people think it's a perspective trick, but
But there are 1,000-pound pigs out there.
there's definitely 1,000-pound domestic pigs, I believe. Well, let's find out. What's the largest domestic pig ever recorded? I'm gonna guess it's over 1,000 pounds. What do
Yeah.
you think?
1,200?
Yeah, that sounds about right. What are you guessing, Jamie?
Oh man,
What the fuck are you doing? You going crazy? Look at you.
We
You're
went
reckless.
way too big for him.
He got reckless, knocking over mic
I
stands
just
and
got
shit.
the chance to see the number though, so
Oh,
I have
okay.
a number in my head that's
What was the number in your head?
I didn't have one yet.
Oh,
I didn't get a
okay.
chance to think. You didn't ask me yet. I
Okay.
wasn't thinking.
What's the real number?
It said over 1,000, but this like Wikipedia says weight was 794.
I don't understand.
It says Hogzilla weighed over 1,000 pounds, but
But
then
Wikipedia says the largest domestic pig is
I didn't
794
get a chance
pounds.
to type that all the way in
Hogzilla
yet.
was feral, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, what they think, though, is that Hogzilla was one of those domestic pigs that broke, so
What
it
the
fattened
fuck?
up and then broke through fencing and then went out and started the transformation. So once pigs fend for themselves, it's so weird. Like a switch goes off in their brain and their fur gets thicker and denser. Like they change. The same exact animal changes, and it's really quickly.
All right. What were the guesses?
I said 1,000.
I
He
said
12.
1,200. I'm way off, apparently.
Big Bill from Jackson, Tennessee in 1933 was a Poland China breed of hog that tipped the scales at 2,552 pounds.
What? You have a picture of
I
Big
was
Bill?
going to look. I don't.
That's
I
a
doubt
big
it, maybe.
fucking pig.
Let's see.
That's a big fucking pig.
Yeah.
Let me see. Big Bill. What the fuck?
Wow.
What the
that's just
fuck?
yeah.
Oh my god, that thing just must have no life.
That's
Just
a big
constant
fucking pig.
food. That was 1908.
1933, I think.
Oh,
is,
33.
Yeah.
And so if a pig that size gets out, has access to food,
Yeah.
it's going to go feral.
Yeah, and that's what. Again, this is my friend Stephen Runella, who's a legitimate wildlife expert. Pull up Hogzilla. Pull up a photo of Hogzilla. Yeah, see, there's Hogzilla. See that photo right there? Yeah, that's a good one. But the one hanging from the legs, like right there, yeah. See, that's a bit of a perspective trick, because I think the pig is several. It's like if you catch a big bass, you do this. You hold it in front of you with your arms extended, and it makes it look bigger.
But even this pig going into the dumpster,
That's a fucking
that's a
legit
big
giant
pig.
pig, man. I don't give a fuck. That's a legit giant pig. Look how little his feet are. Imagine that was a man. Little,
that's
tiny
in
ass
Hong
little,
Kong too.
little girl feet and giant body. Look at the size of his feet. That's so weird. Hogzilla, though, you go to that photo again of the. Whoa, fuck
Like in
that.
someone's yard.
Alabama, that's in someone's yard. Look at the size of that thing.
That looks like one of those giant cows.
That's so. Look at his balls. Holy fuck. And Tom thinks he comes a lot. Imagine what that pig does.
Oh my God.
Jesus Christ. I can't believe how big that thing is, that guy's yard. Well, that's hard to tell. That might be little. That's a sow, too. But the other one was enormous.
It looks like the same. It says
No,
that-
it's
okay.
different. It's definitely different.
Yeah.
You see that how the head is bigger?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a male. But the balls on that thing wandering through someone's yard. But that photo with it's covered in mud, that one in the middle, yeah, where it's hanging. See, that's the super controversial Hogzilla photo.
Because he could be standing a few feet back, and then
Yeah,
the thing just looks.
you don't know,
gigantic.
like that could be a 500-pound pig, which my friend shot a 300-pound pig real recently. They're real, and there's a lot of them. I'm gonna show you something. My friend John Hennessy, he sent me this just yesterday. There's a place where they hunt them at night. What is this? Look at this. Look how many of them there are.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this is outside of Houston.
And those are about 300 pounds, or the one he got was much bigger than.
No,
those?
this is a different friend.
Oh.
But I'm gonna send you this, Jamie. Oh, I just airdropped it to you. It's just the sheer amount of. Oh, here you go. The sheer amount of them in that photo, and that's just one photo, one random photo from a trail camera that shows how many pigs are just wandering to this field, and they're really hard to get close to in the day because they're very smart, but their eyesight sucks. So what they do is they set up at night with night vision, and just like they look for these weird glowing bodies, and they take them out. That one in front looks pretty fucking big, but look. I mean, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's just
lot of pigs.
in the view. But they set these poor pigs up. Like, look,
Are
they
those-
got feeders out there.
Are those feeders for pigs?
I don't know. They might be for pigs, but they might be for deer as well. But Texas is there's like a tree stand back there or a feeder in the background. It's hard to tell what
I don't
that
think
is.
you can do any of that in California.
No, it's illegal. Texas is a weird place when it comes to hunting because I'm using air quotes, hunting ranches
Right.
that are like 200 acres. So basically you're shooting your pets. Like you've got like these animals that are corralled in this. I mean, it's harvesting meat, and it's probably in some way more ethical than farming. It's a hard sell.
Yeah,
You know,
it
like-
doesn't seem like quite what I imagine when I think of hunting.
I like to go where they live.
Yeah.
I like.
I mean, but those
woods.
things live there.
Well, those things are different. They don't look at wild pigs as like a game animal.
Right.
They're a nuisance animal, but they're delicious, which is crazy. They really are like some of the best meat. Like wild pigs, if you cook like pulled pork from wild boar, it is damn delicious. And if you have a really good chef that knows how to cook wild game well, and they can like put one on a Traeger, oh my God, it's so good.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, we get into again what the values are. California has a whole different set of values, but I also don't think we have a pig problem like that.
They do.
Do they?
Yeah, they have wild pigs that have invaded San Jose.
Really?
Yeah, they're in people's lawns in San Jose, fucking them, and they're trying to figure out what to do about it because they're encroaching on like the tech community.
California, you have to humanely capture the pig and then drive it out into the middle of nowhere and release it, I believe.
You can kill them. You can kill as many as you want, actually.
Oh, really?
Yes, but you have to have a tag for them.
Okay.
The difference between California and everywhere else is, like in Texas, you don't even have to have a tag. If you have a hunting license, you can go out and you can shoot 30, 40 pigs out of a helicopter. No one
Right.
Legitimately. Have you ever seen that?
I have.
That's how they do it in a lot of places because it's literally the only way to get close enough to them. So they circle around in helicopters and they gun them down with machine guns. It's bananas.
Yeah.
In California, obviously you can't do that, but you can kill like 30 pigs in a day, but you have to have a tag for all these pigs.
And
each tag costs money.
If they're in San Jose, you can't hunt in.
Exactly.
You got to find them somewhere else.
Yeah, in a place like San Jose, in an urban environment, I'm pretty sure you have to capture them.
Yeah.
But see if you can find wild pigs invade San Jose. There was a news article that showed video.
I'm trying to find something newer than October. So I have a bunch of stories from October, which is like 6 months ago.
That's all right. Doesn't matter. You don't have to get newer. Just show me some video because it's pretty crazy. This guy's sitting in his house and he's watching these big ass fucking pigs just chew his lawn apart.
Just in a city, in a city house.
Yeah,
It's
like a regular
suburban house.
nice suburban house.
Wow.
Nice lawn. They're getting fucked up by pigs.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, a lot of them were brought over there, but did we dispute this? William Randolph Hearst was responsible for a lot of them. His, at
the castle, he wanted pigs.
He wanted pigs. He wanted a lot of other animals. Like, yeah, this is city to allow archery to hunt wild pigs.
So they weren't going to.
That's how you get around the gun
Oh, they
law.
weren't going to?
So I'm saying this is October 7th. There was October 23rd. Said they weren't. I was trying to figure out if it said there was
whether or not it
24
went through?
pigs was running around. So it doesn't sound like they could have caught all 24.
The
pigs
problem
by now.
with archery in a neighborhood is like people suck. Archery's hard to learn. I don't want some guy who just picked up a fucking bow and he starts launching arrows into other people's yards and hits someone's window, hits a kid. People are.
I mean, it all seems like a bad idea in a neighborhood.
Yeah, archery's tricky. So some guys trying to make it. Often they have large teeth and are not afraid of people. It's hunting in a neighborhood is any kind of archery hunting. Like telling someone they should archery hunt is like telling someone they should jiu-jitsu fight.
Right.
You know what I mean? Oh, okay. Just go in there, jiu-jitsu. Yeah, just go choke people. Like, there's a lot of work involved, man. Like, you want to learn how to archery hunt? Like pigs? Pigs are smart.
It's a very specific skill that you have to spend a lot of time
of time.
Yeah.
And how are you going to get close enough to shoot that pig? Because if you're not really good with a bow, you're going to have to figure out how to get 20 yards from it.
Right.
And even
They're
that's
gonna run away.
Yeah. You're not going to get 20 yards from a pig. That's close, man.
Yeah.
20 yards is 20 steps.
Right.
Like legitimately.
I don't think that's gonna work. I can't picture myself getting. No, but maybe slightly closer to a chipmunk or a squirrel or something.
maybe if they're near the tree.
Right, and they're super used to you being there.
Yeah, my dog got a possum the other day, and I think he thought he killed the possum. It's kind of hilarious because possums play possum.
Right.
My dog is a golden retriever. He's not a vicious dog, but he got this possum, and now he has the craziest bloodlust. It's so nuts. All he wants to do is go out and find animals. Like he's got like this video game he's playing. It's like he's an addict.
Yeah.
He just runs up to trees and he's looking for squirrels and he's looking for where's my friend the possum? Like the possum lived. Like he didn't even make it bleed. Like he just kind of like attacked the possum, bit it, and then let it go, and it just laid there. It's like this. Like possums, I don't understand what they're doing. I don't know what kind of weird evolutionary benefit there would be in pretending to be dead.
Maybe it's something like with your dog didn't want to eat it. He just wanted the thrill of killing it.
He definitely was trying to capture it. I don't even think he necessarily wants to kill it. I think what he really wants to do is bring it back to you.
Right.
Like his whole thing is he's a retriever. His whole thing is bringing things back. Like, look what I got.
Yeah.
But when we found this, he wasn't coming. Like I was go, Marshall, come on, buddy, come on. What's up, buddy? And he wasn't coming. I go, Marshall, come on. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And then we found out he had a possum. And then we go to the possum, and the possum's lying. First of all, possums have giant teeth. Have you ever been up to one up close? They look like predators, but they're not. They eat like berries and nuts and shit.
What are the teeth for?
I don't know, man, but they're giant, which is crazy, right? You think they're going to defend themselves.
Yeah.
But they don't even defend themselves. They're just like, they freeze up. It's the craziest animal.
And then Marshall wanted nothing to do with it after that.
Well, he did, but I could get him away. He's a great dog. He listens. I'm like, come on, man, get the fuck away from that, because didn't want him to catch a disease or whatever. And I was like, this thing's alive. And so we just threw the thing over the fence, and it was alive. And then eventually got up and walked away.
That's wild.
But what benefit does evolution? I mean, what evolutionary benefit is there to just pretend you're dead?
No, I mean, if most things are going to eat you, most things that capture you like that are going to eat you, there seems to be no benefit.
Like, here, Google that. Why do possums
I've
play?
already I'm there, past it.
Do they know? Is there a reason?
Because a lot of animals will not.
That's what it looked like.
Will not go after a already dead animal.
Like that possum right there is alive.
Yes. Dude, that's what it looked like. It looked exactly like that. Okay, many animals are turned off by dead prey, an evolutionary tactic that keeps carnivores from consuming diseased food. Most predators will give up on prey that plays possum. Huh.
Yep, they go completely catatonic, it says.
Oh, wow. It can take the marsupial anywhere from a few minutes to a few hours to become mobile again. While they can survive these types of encounters, they can still be injured. Scientists have found many possums in the wild wandering around with healed wounds and fractures, likely from being attacked. So playing possum isn't an act. It's an involuntary reaction to threat. Wow. It's intonic immobility or thanatosis. And its body enters a catatonic state in response to fear. So they freeze up like a bitch. In addition to seemingly feigning death, possums have other remarkable traits. They have prehensile tails to climb tree branches. They're immune to pit viper venom. Females give birth to up to 18 babies at once, just 12 to 14 days after conception. Holy shit.
That's insane.
What a freaky animal.
It worked.
Yeah.
They're still here.
Yeah, exactly. Right? And
they also look scary as fuck. Like that thing looks like a giant rat.
Yeah. I'm telling you, giant ass teeth. This thing had giant teeth. And it was just like lying there like this, like, these giant teeth. And my dog is now obsessed with finding another one.
Yeah.
Like in the middle of the night last night. What does it say here? Here's a fun fact. A possum means white dog in the Native American Algonquin language. Huh. White dog. Well, they kind of look like a dog. They kind of do a little bit, like a little weird coyote-looking thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, now he's just completely obsessed with finding animals outside. It's like it sparked some weird things. Like, I didn't even know how much fun this is.
Right.
So that's like his favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
Other than chase a ball and go swimming.
We need to find that as a culture. And I say need because I needed to find that. So that kind of urge to exist outside or just outside of my house, just doing something with my body.
Yes.
This is an important thing. It was very important to me. I wouldn't recommend it for weight loss. I think they're two completely separate things.
Right. It's a primal switch that gets activated and with just feeling your body move and feeling satisfaction in physical activity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I say all that, and I'm like, if the dude who's a professional video game player loves to eat pizza and is perfectly happy, good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him.
I was talking shit on professional video games once. Oh, boy, did they get upset. But this is coming from someone who used to play a lot of video games. I have addictive tendencies towards games, like serious addictive tendencies where I can't play video games. And but the thing is like, if you could play golf for a living, why is golf better than a video game? Because those video game guys make a shitload of money.
Yeah.
They do now. Like, and
shitload.
Yeah, and I think it's going to improve. I think like the shitload now is going to be more, in a few years. I think as these things get more and more immersive, and then more people get involved, and also in a lot of places, people go to watch them play.
Well, I mean, you see whole stadiums filled up, but there are a ton of people that make money at home playing video games, and people are tuning in to watch. I don't understand any of this at all, but this is a real thing that our kids are growing up with.
I think for them, it's exciting. And like, was it StarCraft in Korea where they have those giant stadiums full of people? StarCraft.
For video games.
Oh, yeah. Have you ever seen it?
No.
You need to watch this.
I saw there was one. A friend of mine's son was at one where a guy, I think his name is Ninja, won something. And this was big in America, but I didn't know they had specific stadiums for video games. This is wild.
Yeah, there's StarCraft is a particularly demanding strategy game that I've never played. I don't really understand it, but it's a top-down game, and you're looking down on this world, and you're moving these players around and doing all kinds of shit, and you're doing many things simultaneously. You're like playing war with these video game characters, and you'll see enormous stadiums, like 15,000 people filled with cheering fans and giant screens watching this game play out.
The last time
they're on the new games now. Apparently, this is not the current hot shit, if you will.
StarCraft 2?
Yeah.
That clip we saw of a video game was one guy controlling all those guys?
Yeah, that's what's nuts, man. You move things around, you got a bunch of things happening. But look at the size of the crowd, man.
Wow.
This guy's a star. He's walking through high-fiving people. Yes. Look at that. Look at that fucking crowd for a video game.
It's not quite the Saitama Super Arena.
Not quite, but it's up there.
It's on its way.
Yeah, it's up there. But I mean, 15 years ago, this did not exist.
Right.
And now they're filling up arenas. Like 15 years from now, who fucking knows? And you got to imagine that the games these guys are able to develop now in comparison to the games that will exist 15 years from now, they'll be even more immersive. They'll either be augmented reality or some form of virtual reality or some more insanely aggressively addictive version of these video games because they're so addictive.
I was given, sometimes they give you presents. You're going to start a movie and they give you gifts, which is a bizarre thing to happen. But I was given an Xbox. I was starting a movie, given an Xbox 15 or more years ago. And I brought it home, and my wife said, "Oh, that doesn't come in this house. You can keep that in your trailer, and then when you're done, you're done with it." So I took it to my trailer, and one day after work, I started playing a game that I was playing sporadically. And the next thing I knew, they were knocking on my trailer like, "Oh, you're here. Good. We're ready for you in hair and makeup." I sat in my trailer all night playing a video game.
You didn't realize it?
I knew it was late, but I didn't realize that I was there for 10
never went
hours.
to sleep?
No.
Oh my God.
And that was kind of when I knew video games were not for me. It was a bad, dark road.
They're fucking crazy addictive, man. And we've only begun to scratch the surface. At my old studio, I had two virtual reality setups. I had an HTC Vive and I had an Oculus. And my kids would run to them when they came to the studio. They would just run to the Oculus and put it on and start playing games.
Yeah.
They couldn't wait. And I've had some people say that like video games are like, I had a conversation, Naval Ravikant, you know who he is? Fascinating guy, big tech guy, really brilliant person. But he was like, he doesn't buy it. He's like, nobody plays augmented or virtual reality. It's just he doesn't think it's really going to catch on. I'm like, you need to see my kids.
Right.
They go bonkers for this shit because you can box in it. Like the boxing thing is like a legitimate workout, man.
You do become inside of a universe.
And you're boxing like some guy. Like you're in a ring and you look at him across the ring staring at you and he's moving towards you. And when he hits you, you see a flash of blinding light.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa. Yeah, and it's a workout, man. You get a good workout.
I have a kid who believes very heavily in the simulation. And she's also a nihilist though. She's 16, so it's a weird time for her.
What happened?
Sometimes she says she's an absurdist, and sometimes it's a nihilist, which I am happy that there's.
Just means she's very smart. She's trying on these different schools of thought.
Yes, and she will go into simulation theory, and I'm just like, if it's true, who cares? We're here. This is whatever. Reality is what it is. If it's fake simulated reality, this is what we got.
That's one way of looking at it. I had a conversation with Nick Ballstrom once, and he's a guy who believes in the simulation. And what does he do?
That we're in the simulation?
Yeah.
Or that it's going to happen?
No, that we're in it.
Okay.
He was talking about probability theory, and it was one of those conversations where I was like, "Ooh, I'm too dumb for this one," which happens quite a bit, but with him, he was explaining how, because of probability theory, because we know virtual reality exists, we know that technology is ever evolving, and that there's always constant innovation, and then there's a real thirst for it. We also know that wherever we are right now, if we can stay alive, whatever our technology is today will pale in comparison to the technology from 1,000 years ago. Then we know there are literally hundreds of millions of stars in this galaxy, hundreds of billions of galaxies in the known universe. Each one of those has who knows how many fucking stars. Each one of those has who knows how many planets. So that means in some of these, they've gone far past us. If there is intelligent life out there in the universe, which they suppose there is, right? Someone has figured out how to make something that's indiscernible from this. So if this is reality, if you and I and Jamie and everybody else listening exist in is a real tangible reality that you can touch and feel and you can weigh and measure, but that one day we'll get to a place where there'll be a artificial reality that will be as amazing and as tactile as this, and you won't be able to tell the difference. Nick Ballstrom's argument was, because of those facts, it's more likely that it's already existed, and that we're in it right now.
I mean, again, that's a heavy thought to run through, and I think that's exactly what my kid was trying to tell me, and that's fine, but I don't know what I do with it.
It's just, Elon believes in it too, by the way.
He believes we're in it.
Yeah, he believes in the simulation. Yeah.
I believe it's got, I mean, I don't know. I just don't know what, like, if all of this is computer generated or artificially generated, then what do we do? We keep doing what we're doing.
Maybe it's the wrong question, because we know for sure that at the lowest measurable or understandable level of reality, when you get to the quantum level, it's basically magic. When I talked to Brian Greene, and he was trying to explain it to me, and again, too dumb for that conversation, I just did my best, but you get to these super states where things are moving and they're also still.
And they're existing two things. One thing is existing in two places at once.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then spooky action at a distance, where somehow or another a particle in a long, far away place has an interaction with a particle that's here, and vice versa. Like,
yeah, they're entangled.
Yeah. How? Who knows? They don't know, but they can kind of show it with mathematics, and they can try to show it with these calculations.
And CERN is doing some weird shit too, where they're looking at this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You were talking before about how you had a guy coming who's dead set on belief in aliens and like that they're here and all
Christopher Mellon.
all the shit that the Pentagon's releasing and all of that. I talked to a guy because I'm hyper focused right now on diet and stuff like that. But I remember reading Carl Sagan and him talking about how he thought that our first brush with extraterrestrials would be microorganisms. And I was talking to a guy who is a professor at UCLA, Emran Mayer, and he was talking about our gut biome, how there's more bacteria, individual organisms in our gut than there are stars in the galaxy.
Really?
Something astronomical like that, yes. And he said that these things act in an intelligent way and communicate with our brain in an intelligent way, and that there's some kind of symbiosis there. And that to me sounds like fucking aliens living in us already.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, right? We're an ecosystem.
Yeah, and like if we were to if something external that had no idea what we were to perceive us in terms of living organisms, we would be the last, because we're a single living organism with hundreds of billions of other organisms inside of us and around us and contributing to us and working together. This is a wild thought.
It is a wild thought, and it seems like that applies to every animal on Earth.
Yeah.
And all life on Earth, essentially, right? Even plants have this crazy symbiotic relationship with fungus and with the nutrients that are in the ground. And, I mean, when you think about what a probiotic is, right? Like if you drink, I love kombucha. I drink a lot of kombucha.
Yeah.
You're drinking a live organism.
Yeah.
And it's like healthy. So
and it's fueling all the other live organisms inside of you.
When I describe it as like you got a little army, and you like put some healthy soldiers into your body with this kombucha.
Yeah,
like that's kind of what a probiotic is. With acidophilus, whatever you're taking, you're kind of like taking in some little soldiers, take care of a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It's, for jiu-jitsu people, it's critical for avoiding skin diseases.
Right.
You know, there's one of the things that comes up in jiu-jitsu all the time is scratches and staph. Yeah, scratches
Ringworm,
lead. Yep.
yeah.
And all those things can be at least somewhat mitigated with acidophilus and with various probiotics and then healthy soaps. Like you don't want to use a antibacterial soap.
You kill the good guys too.
Exactly. So there's actually a company called Defense Soap. And Defense Soap, shout out to my man Guy Sacco, who created Defense Soap. He created it for grapplers. And he created it for wrestlers, and because a lot of these kids were getting sick, and then they were using antibacterial soap, like they would get, not sick, but they'd get little infections. And so he came up with this Defense Soap, which is mostly healthy oils, like tea tree oil and eucalyptus, and all those things. They don't kill the bad bacteria, but they fight off, or they don't kill the good bacteria, but they fight off the bad bacteria.
Right.
And they keep the skin biome healthy. And so there's a bunch of products that they've developed that are based on this principle that you're dealing with the surface of your skin. It's an ecosystem,
Yeah.
which is nuts. Like you want to keep the soldiers happy.
There's so many theories that you can run down to, like autoimmune disease and the rate of autoimmune in countries like America versus really, really third world countries, where it just basically doesn't exist. Now, I think the life expectancy might be lower, so that's not a good trade-off. But when you have stuff like your immune system and you're clearing it of everything that it's learned to fight over however long we've been here.
Yeah.
And suddenly it has nothing to fight, it's going to find things to fight. And then, you know, I think that that's the same with bacteria and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And I know it's even kind of taboo in some circles to recommend eating vegetables. You know, I know carnivores are not super into vegetables, but even the mycotoxins in vegetables you're getting just enough of it that your body learns to fight it, you know.
Right, that's hormesis, right?
Hormesis, yeah.
I think that's the argument, unfortunately, that some epidemiologists have made about our current situation in terms of like constantly sterilizing our hands and hand sanitizer, and also not even being around people, that our immune systems are atrophying. Yeah. Which is scary. Because you think about how many people. My kid right now, my youngest daughter, has a cold, an actual real cold. I haven't seen a fucking cold in forever. When was the last time you saw a cold?
A year and a half.
We tested her for the Rona. She's already had it. And
she had Corona?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Which was nothing. This cold is way worse than Corona.
Right.
Like she's coughing, running nose. She feels like shit, but she's just watching TV and chilling.
Yeah.
But it was crazy. It's like, oh, you got a cold. Huh. Forgot about those.
Yeah.
Like kids always get colds.
Yeah.
And, you know, no colds.
Right. Because no contact.
Yeah, no contact.
So we're not building up immunity still.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's critical for children. And, you know, because you have kids as well, like those little fuckers are petri dishes.
Yeah.
They go to school and they come back with all kinds of stuff. And then you get it and, yeah.
There's a huge period of time where kids' fingers are just dirty and sticky no matter what. You wash them all day long. They just appear dirty and sticky again. Like they're running around licking their hands and touching the floor.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, they're just, it's nature, right? When you see babies, they're always sticking things in their mouth and touching things in dirt. It's like nature's trying to get them to do that. I guess.
I have a hard time rationalizing some of this stuff when it becomes these absolutes of everybody must do this. And again, I go like, well, do we all have exactly the same values? I don't know that that's true. And if that's not true, then this sounds to me like a religious position that we're making. But I try to understand these things. And I was speaking with a guy who studied epidemiology at UCLA, and he said they had a large sign that was a constant reminder to them every day, and it just said, "Everybody lies." And this, I think,
What a fucking weird sign.
I mean, but it's like the idea is like, because I was asking, if somebody's had corona, why are they pushing so hard for them to get vaccinated when the amount of reinfection doesn't look to be any worse than breakthrough infection post-vaccination? So what's the point there? And his point was, well, in epidemiology, you learn that everybody lies. So your aunt who never got tested but had a bad cold back in March and is convinced she had corona might not get the vaccine when she might not have had corona.
Right.
And so therefore they're going forward with everybody must get the vaccination as this kind of, but I think it's interesting to think about that, like everybody lies, and I don't think they mean it necessarily even intentionally. Like
They mean play it safe.
Play it safe, or even just like, I'm counting calories, but I'm going to not measure my ketchup.
Yeah.
Are you really counting calories? You know what I mean? Ketchup's got calories
A
in
lot.
it. Yeah.
A lot of sugar.
I'm counting calories, but I'm going to eat 4 pounds of broccoli today. At some point, that's going to add up.
Yeah, it's amazing how much a handful of almonds.
Yeah.
Handful of almonds like 500 calories or something crazy.
Dude, when I was keto, I would get bags of macadamia nuts at Trader Joe's and never look at the caloric value of them and eat them. Like, I could just eat this full of fat and it's so good. And then I'm not losing weight.
Right.
And I'm eating, bacon for breakfast, like a package of bacon for breakfast, a steak for lunch, snacking on macadamia nuts all day and not losing weight and like fucking pulling my hair out because it didn't seem to be working. At some point, you can't eat more than your body needs or you're going to hold on to weight. Like, this is just the way that works. If keto gets you to a place where you're going to be able to not eat enough to lose weight, that's great. That's perfectly great. But if you're eating fucking heavy whipping cream on everything, this might not be the solution.
Yeah, there's no miracle when it comes to weight loss. That's a fact. And calories in versus calories out is real.
Yeah.
It's real. The difference between keto and other diets is once your body gets into that fat burning state, it becomes easier to eat less.
There you go.
But you still have to be disciplined because macadamia nuts still taste fucking good.
Yeah, and then like a sicko like me, I'm reading all the keto recipes of like how to make bagels with pork rinds and heavy whipping cream and cream cheese. You know what I mean? And convinced that this is gonna
weight.
work. But I'm eating 5,000 calories
Yeah.
a day in fat and not losing weight.
The only thing that I did ever when I went on a diet to lose weight was that carnivore diet. But the reason why is because when you're not eating the pasta and the rice and all that stuff, like a salad or anything like that, the steak itself is enough. Like, it does satisfy you.
Yeah.
But I could have definitely eaten other shit. Like I
Like
said,
a loaf of bread.
If there was a loaf of bread, I would have chowed that too.
Yeah.
And that would have been additional calories that I really didn't need to be satisfied. But if you're just eating steak, you get to the end of that 16-ounce ribeye and you're like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm good. I'm not a full, like a glutton, like
Right.
what I like to be. But
I am.
yeah, but you can get to this place where, your body is in sort of a calorie deficit and also not as much calories as I'm accustomed to eating because I do eat a lot of food.
Yeah. I eat a lot of food too. The idea of maintenance, this was something that I never went into any diet thinking about. I never went into any diet thinking about, like, once I lose weight, how am I going to eat to keep it off? This was not a thought. The thought was always, my problem is I'm fat. Once I lose my weight, I will have solved my problem and all will be well. And then I arrive at, well, shit, now I'm gaining weight, so I'll just kind of do this diet again sporadically. I work my fucking ass off for a couple of years just on maintenance, and not even when I was at my goal. Like, let me figure out what it is to eat, because I trampled over all the physical signs of like satiation. Like, I don't know what it is to eat a meal and go like, I've had enough. I don't know what that is. I eat until I'm practically
Bursting.
nauseous. Yeah. That's how I eat. And I do it in private because I don't want people to watch me eat like that. So to like, and I hate these cringy words like mindfulness. This word makes me sick to my stomach too. However, like if I sit by myself and like actually look at what I'm eating and eat it with some sense of purpose, this has helped. It's unfortunate the hippy dippy shit has helped a little bit. You know?
The hippy dippy shit is real. The problem is so many hippy dippy people are so fucking annoying.
Right.
They ruin these good hippy dippy phrases and words and ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, mindfulness is a legit concept.
Yeah, but it's
good.
been ruined because it's awful.
Ruined.
It's awful.
Spirituality.
Yeah.
I'm spiritual.
Yeah.
I'm not religious. I'm spiritual.
Right.
Yeah. Here's my favorite one. I'm living my truth.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you saying?
Yeah. Just don't let your truth fuck with my truth.
You have your own truth? Holy shit.
Yeah.
When you said you were on a liquid diet,
Yeah.
how did you do that?
I was doing a movie in Romania and
What was the movie?
Cold Mountain, 2002. And I had this brutal experience on a plane with a conversation with a guy who I think was very meant well, but honestly, he framed it all in terms of like his relationship with Christ and how my relationship with Christ was clearly lacking because I was a mess. And that was his value. He was concerned for me, was basically at the root of it, and expressing that concern. I think anytime somebody tells me or has, I don't want to talk really about masks or anything like that, but this is also very much like we don't all have to share the same values, but I recognize that when somebody's telling me I need to live a certain way, this is just them imposing their values on me. This is not anything more than that. And so I'm a little open and I go, okay, I understand where that's coming from. I don't want to upset anybody. He had this conversation with me on a plane. I landed and I started to think about like, what am I doing? Like I just hadn't been thinking about it. What am I going to do with my life? What do I want to do? Like I have trouble going to the beach with my girlfriend at the time. She likes to go on hikes. I don't fucking go on. I'm not going on a hike. I don't even like walking around the block at that point. And I called her up and it was the most bizarre feeling because I am objectively 550 pounds at this point. And I had to talk to her about wanting to change my weight, and it felt as though I was telling her a secret. Like I felt like I was going to tell her something she didn't know. Like if you couldn't tell, I'm morbidly obese. Nothing could be more evident. And in this conversation, she was like, okay, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, I want to lose weight. And she said, good. As soon as you get home, I'll have something ready for you. And when I landed, she picked me up and she had this whole liquid meal plan ready that was full of like fiber pills and vitamins and shakes. And that's what I ate for 60 days.
And how much weight did you lose in 60 days?
80 pounds.
That's incredible in and of itself.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that weight I never put back on.
So when you lost that, did you decide at one point in time I can't do this anymore?
Yeah. I mean, I was cold all the time and I would start
Cold?
freezing cold all the time, which I run really hot. Like I can sweat just standing up. And this, I was like not quite shivering, but I was really cold. And
What do they think that's from?
I don't know, just being malnourished.
Oh.
And when I would stand up, my vision would go dark and then come back. And I had an 8-week break from this movie, and I did it then, but I don't think I could be at work feeling like that.
I understand. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to concentrate.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy that you would go dark when you got up.
Yeah. Like all the way, no eyes open but black, and then it would slowly come back. And I'd have to hold on to shit because I felt like I was going out.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that has to be some sort of blood sugar thing, I would imagine.
Yeah. I don't actually know, but probably. Sounds right.
I don't know either. We just guessed.
Like you've been choked out.
Yeah.
I've been choked out.
Not unconscious. Not totally unconscious.
Really?
No, I always tap.
Okay. I didn't even know it was happening. It happened to me once, and I thought, like, no, I can get out of this, and then I was just unconscious. But I remember my vision starting to go, and that's the sign I should have paid attention to.
I flew in an FA-18 once with the Blue Angels, and I blacked out.
Yeah.
I made it all. See, the problem is I made it to way higher G's, and I didn't black out. And then we were on one turn, and I just, I'm like, I got this. And then I'm like,
just the blood goes somewhere else.
Yeah. It's we were doing 7.5 G's, which is for those guys is nothing, but for me it was like, what the fuck? When you feel that pressure, it's crazy. We're banking into a turn. I wish I could remember the gentleman who was flying, but he was a fucking stud. And these guys are all like super jacked, and one of the reasons why they're jacked is because they have to force blood into their brain while they're flying.
Right.
So as they're holding onto the thing, he's going like this, hoot, 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 hoot. So you're forcing
God.
blood into your head as you're banking, and we're like, "Argh!" And I could see it like an elevator door, like my consciousness closing in, and I'm fighting, and I'm going, hoot, 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 hoot. And they could get to like 7, 10, 9, you know, like they go way higher than 7.5. What I did, and I was fine with that. And then as we were coming in, we did this other hard turn. We were only like at 4.5 G's or something like that. And I'm. And then I got up, threw up.
Yeah.
It's like, damn it.
Yeah.
I was almost home.
This was every time I stood up doing a
Really?
liquid diet. Yeah. Vision black.
And then once you got back on food, did it all come back? Your heat and everything?
Yes, that all came back. But I was on a very, very low calorie diet when I started eating. And I ate that way for another few months. So I continued to lose weight far, far more slowly. But then even then, I was still doing like under 1,000 calories a day, but I was eating solid food.
Have you ever heard of the story of the man who fasted for 365 days? And do you know this guy?
I don't know him, but I have heard about him.
He drank only water and took in vitamins, I think IV vitamins. I forget how they did it. But this guy lost an insane amount of weight. And the crazy thing is, his skin shrank.
Yeah, listen, I don't want to say that's something that's not really talked about enough amongst people who have massive weight loss. And I find that people who start to lose a lot of weight are suddenly confronted with this fact that they have billowing skin, and it's shocking and very upsetting. And I think that guy's an outlier because I did read about him. Mostly people are going to have a lot of excess skin.
The thought was that maybe because of the fact the guy was ketogenic for the entire 365 days a year and his body was consuming fat, that it also consumed skin as well.
I don't think that's scientifically possible.
But do you know of any other outliers that lost a shit ton of weight and didn't have any loose skin?
No. I don't know of anybody.
Yeah, that's what's weird, right?
Yeah. And I was ketogenic for hundreds of pounds of weight loss and still had loose skin. Yeah, and then I got skin surgery and then gained weight again. Like I've done every awful thing you could do with weight loss.
I think it's more than even ketogenic because this guy's body was literally living off itself. It's not like he was taking in macadamia nuts or whatever. He's living off his own tissue. And I wonder if that was the catalyst.
I just don't think skin is bioavailable in that way. Like,
but muscle is
and fat is, but I don't think you can. I don't think you can disintegrate, like consume your skin in that way. From what I've read, skin as an organ is elastic, and when you fill it up, it's built to be stretched. But if you keep it filled up for too long, and it can't stretch from that point, it then goes like, oh shit, we have a new settling point. We're going to now grow to this size, and so that we can be elastic again. Because your body, unfortunately, will always store fat. Your body wants to store fat. You know, your body understands famine, and it understands when there's excess, you store it if you can. Like, you want to do that, you know.
Your body's not concerned with being thin and looking good. Your body wants to stay alive.
Doesn't give a fuck. And being fat will save you if there's a famine, and it takes a hell of a lot longer to kill you than starving. You can starve to death pretty quick.
Isn't that crazy that your body lives in the same space as your brain? Your brain wants you to look good.
Right.
but your body's like, shut the fuck up and make me fat.
Yeah. This
What?
food's going to go away.
Yeah.
The 5 days worth of food you can get at the gas station for $2, that's going to go away. It's going to disappear. You're going to starve. Eat it all. Store the fat. You'll be safe.
What a weird battle.
Yeah.
Your brain and your body play with each other. It really is strange.
It's fucked. And then if you want to lose weight and retain muscle mass, you got to convince your body that you're doing shit with it to survive. So
Yeah.
you got to lift heavy things so that your body doesn't consume your muscles. Those are like the key things to if you want to lose weight, because muscle requires energy. It requires food. So you can eat a little bit more if you have a little bit more muscle.
Yeah.
This is the benefit of having muscles.
Yeah, and what it takes to gain muscle, most people don't understand. They think you lift
Fucking
weights, you
hard.
gain muscle. Like, no. You have to lift weights, and then you have to tell your body, hey, motherfucker, we're going to do this all the time. You
Yeah.
better grow.
And it's going to get heavier.
And it's going to suck.
Yeah.
You have to feel like, you have to where you're stretching and everything's sore. And that is the only way your body's like, okay, this asshole is just going to pick up heavy things every fucking day. We need more resources. We need more tissue.
Yeah, that's it.
And then your appetite kicks in.
Yeah. And then you're eating more.
Oh, yeah. When I lift weights, especially heavy, I am so fucking hungry.
Yeah.
Because your body's like, hey, bitch, time to grow. You going to make me do this?
Yeah.
Why are we carrying things? Isn't this a new world? We have machines to carry
Right.
things?
Why
are
you should
carrying
be
things?
playing video games.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
Why are you farmer walking with two 72-pound kettlebells, you piece of shit?
And didn't you know at the maybe you have an electric car, but at the gas station,
Yeah.
you can get all the food you need for the month, and it won't go bad for $20.
What is happening to that stuff inside your body?
It's fermenting. It's turning to formaldehyde.
I avoid that stuff as often as possible, but every time I do eat processed food, my body's like, what is this nonsense?
Yeah. I have a weird thing where I can eat sugar if I'm in the gym. Like if I'm in the gym lifting weights and I have a Gatorade, I feel fucking awesome. I feel like Superman.
Yeah.
If I have a Gatorade late at night or a bowl of ice cream, I wake up hungover and feel like I'm dying. It's crazy.
Yeah, when I eat ice cream and then go to bed, I will have this horrible feeling in the middle of the night where my stomach's like,
Yeah.
and I almost have a headache.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just your body doesn't want it. But a hard weightlifting session and then a Snickers bar, like you feel pretty fucking good because you can use it.
Yeah.
You actually can use it.
When I was riding bikes a lot, some of the old pros would say, like, and I'd have like, non-GMO fucking health bars and electrolytes without sugar and all this stuff. And we get to the top of the hill and they'd have a Snickers and a Coke. And they would literally say, like, this is the perfect meal for right now.
Yeah, that's what Floyd Mayweather uses. After he works out, he drinks a Coke.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
And his body, it's like rocket fuel. It's high octane. I don't actually know how gas works, but it's something that sounds like high octane is for a fast car.
I know it's a thing that trainers actually recommend, which is nuts. They'll tell you, a sugary soft drink is actually very good after a workout.
Yeah.
Like what?
I mean, this is the idea that food is fuel, right? That we are actually. Could you imagine if every night the leftover gas in your car would make your car heavier and you'd still need to put gas in the next day? Like you would start to fucking figure out exactly how much gas you needed.
Yeah.
We don't do that.
Right. You'd be like, this fucking stupid car is so fat.
Yeah.
I can't. I
It's
would like to
slow.
drive to your house, Mom, but my car's fat.
Right. It's slow.
It'll never
I've been
make it.
Over-gassing it for years. It's got clogged fucking hoses.
Those wheels hurt.
Yeah. It's just miserable. It's riding low. They're all fucking half deflated.
Yeah, treating your body like a machine. Like I always call my body my meat vehicle.
Yeah.
But like treating it like a machine is so difficult because it's interconnected with all these feelings and pangs, hunger pangs, and there's so much going on, emotions.
And in America, we celebrate everything with food.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
every holiday is about food. I get so over it at Thanksgiving. Like we're going to do this again. Like, and then Christmas is just a string of events where we're eating.
Yeah, the turkey industry celebrates Thanksgiving. The turkey industry and then the pumpkin industry is really pumped about October.
Yeah.
When Halloween rolls around. Like, who the fuck else would be buying pumpkins?
Yeah.
You know, if there wasn't for Halloween, how many pumpkins would we sell in this country? Three pumpkins? Pumpkin pie, I guess, actually. I'll
Pumpkin
take that
pie
back.
is pretty good.
Pretty goddamn good.
But you don't want to eat it all the time. I mean, I
Oh,
don't.
if it's right there,
might
some
eat
whipped
it.
cream.
Yeah.
Pumpkin pie is pretty fucking good.
Lots of whipped
I changed
cream.
my mind.
fucking.
I'm back
we need
on the
more
pumpkin.
pumpkins.
But like, have you ever had baked pumpkin?
No,
It's pretty good.
I've had baked squash. It can't be much different.
Yeah, I like spaghetti squash.
Yeah, delicious.
Spaghetti why can I say that? Spaghetti squash with marinara sauce is almost as good as pasta.
Yeah.
Sometimes better.
Have you ever had these kelp noodles?
No.
There are kelp noodles nowadays, and one of my kids was eating them, and I was just like, "This is stupid. Kelp noodles are stupid." But then I tried them, and I couldn't. I mean, they're not exactly the same. There's a little bit more of a crunch, so you imagine if it's like super al dente pasta. But they're fucking good. You put some tomato sauce on them.
Really?
It's pretty good. Yeah.
I've had hemp pasta.
Okay.
And I like hemp pasta.
Is that
Hemp pasta
lower in
very good.
calories?
I don't know. I think it has protein though.
Right.
That's the thing about hemp. There used to be there's a protein spaghetti that I used to buy, but oh my god, the farts.
Yeah.
They were out of this world. They're like,
Yeah.
what is happening in my body? But it might have been, I would eat this protein pasta with marinara sauce with tuna. And this is when I was a young single man.
Yeah.
I would boil the pasta, and then I would take the sauce and dump a can of tuna into the sauce, stir it up, pour it on together, and then just thank God I was alone.
Right. But that's a ton of protein.
Yeah. Oh, a ton of protein. But yeah, I don't think my body enjoyed it. And I don't know if it was the pasta or the combination of the pasta with the sauce and the tuna as well, but all together.
When I upped my protein, I started like paying attention to how much protein I got every day, and I actually had to increase my protein. If I would fuck up and miss a meal and wind up with like I got 100 grams of protein left towards the end of the day, and I'd eat it all at once, which is a fucking shitload of protein to consume at one time, the gas. Everybody in my house would be furious with me. I mean, like, really fucking awful. So that, you know, and I have my coach, Jared Feather, again, amazing guy. He would program me, and he would say, no, like, you eat 25 grams in this meal and 50 grams in this meal, and spread it out throughout the day. And I'd go like, yeah, okay, but if I get to the end of the day and I've only eaten one meal, I'll just eat everything then, because I kind of like just fucking eating till I'm stuffed. And he'd go, that's a bad idea for a number of reasons. I go, okay, but like, does it really matter? And then the gas actually got me to spread it out. Which is beneficial.
Have you ever heard of the warrior diet? That's when people eat one meal a day.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I was going to try to cram 250 to 270 grams of protein into one meal a day, it would be a disaster.
Yeah.
It would be a fucking disaster.
I think that goes to the biodiversity thing. Like, some people can do it.
Yeah.
Some people like it that way. I know quite a few people that eat one strong meal a day.
Yeah.
Mark Sisson, wasn't he saying that? Wasn't Mark saying he eats one meal a day often? Yeah, he's the guy that wrote that book, The Primal Blueprint.
Yeah.
And he had all sorts of arthritis and all sorts of issues with his joints, and cut out, for him, I mean, this is like his thing, he cut out all bread, all pasta, all grains, and just started eating completely unprocessed food. Eats a lot of grass-fed steak, eats a lot of just vegetables, and it all went away. Right. And then he feels infinitely better, and wrote this book about how, you know, how to cook and how to eat with completely unprocessed food. But he's in his 60s, very fit. He's my canary in a coal mine.
Yeah.
When I see a dude in his 60s, it gets after as much as that guy does. But, you know, he exercises, but he doesn't kill himself. But he looks great. He's got a full six-pack. Like, as far as like an older guy, he looks amazing. And I'm pretty sure he only eats once a day for the most part.
Right.
Occasionally he'll have a light breakfast or something like that. But he's got his body kind of dialed in to where he needs it and what to eat. Most of my friends, though, that are athletes, particularly fighters, they eat all throughout the day.
Yeah.
They eat multiple. A lot of them carry around those little Tupperware containers, and they'll eat, you know, multiple meals a day.
I take that to work. I don't fuck with food at work
Craft
anymore.
service.
Yeah, I don't fuck
craft
with
service
it.
can get
It's
you,
deadly,
man.
dude. It's deadly.
You start grazing.
Yeah.
I see people just walking by that craft service like, what do we got here? Bagel?
Yeah.
M&Ms?
And then they like serve a weird meal. They come around with sandwiches halfway through the morning, and there's still the table over there. It's psychotic how much. And in fairness, like a grip or an electrician who's picking up heavy things all day, I understand that guy needs to eat throughout the day. But
Yeah.
like I, who am a fucking dumb actor who
Yeah.
mostly just standing around saying words.
Right.
Like it's not physically demanding.
Right. It's like a luxury thing, though. They want you to feel like you're catered to, like as
Right.
if you went to a resort
Yeah.
and they walk by, would you like some ice cream? Like,
Yeah.
yes, I would. I'm on vacation.
Anything you can think of, we have it somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's those habits that people develop at work. Like I knew a lot of people that would act and they would be on sets and they would gain weight like every time they would be on a set because they just would that craft service state the table the setup, especially if it's a good craft service one with the bagels and the lox and fucking hard to avoid, man.
Yeah.
Especially in the morning when you're tired. When I'm tired, I have fucking zero willpower.
Yeah.
When I'm tired, like when I come home and I'm hungry, I'm tired. It's like fast food, whatever. There's like. It's been proven, I believe, that your body reacts differently to cravings when you're tired. You make poor choices.
Yeah, this is one of the habits that I've worked on really hard at changing. Is like I don't do anything hungry, and I don't I don't go to the grocery store hungry. I don't start cooking
that's a
hungry.
disaster.
Yeah, if I start cooking my dinner and I'm starving, my pour of the olive oil is heavier. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
My portioning of the rice, I'm smashing it into that cup to make sure the cup has really 2 cups in it, like
Right.
just accidentally.
Yeah. What kind of exercise are you doing these days?
I just lift weights.
Just weights.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every 6 days a week, and for cardio, it's mostly walking around. I take my dogs on a walk. I get on an elliptical machine, but I'm never doing like HIIT type stuff.
I like ellipticals for you could pretend you're working out, like you're working out, but you can watch TV.
Yeah.
Because like you just kind of can get into a movie, and next thing you know, you're like, oh, I'm fucking 150 beats a minute. Like,
Yeah.
look at me, I'm getting after it.
Yeah.
My heart rate spiked.
I can do an elliptical for a long time, and it doesn't it's like I don't want my heart rate too high. So if I'm trying to keep it steady, that's a great thing to do.
Why do you want your heart rate low?
I just don't want to tap into I don't want to, like, for the time being, if I'm like, when I was just hyper focused on I want to lose weight, I just want to get small, then I had a lot more cardio in my routine. And right now, I want to preserve every single gram of muscle I have. I don't want to give it up. So, and since I've been basically in some kind of caloric deficit for so long, if I work too hard or if the deficit slips too much, it's gonna use some lean tissue too.
So you're just into getting jacked right now.
That's it. I just want abs, dude. I got to 200 pounds. I was doing 8 hours of cardio a day on a bike, and I didn't have abs, and it was really fucking disappointing. Now, all of that said, I have loose skin, so it's like you see those big muscle guys in loose shirts, and that's still what I got, because I got loose skin hangover. But downlighting, you get all the right things. You can see abs, which is nice.
Are you doing a lot of abdominal exercises? None.
Almost none.
How come?
I just not. I feel like I get them with bench press and squats. They're all kind of activated. I do a little bit, but I'm not hyper focused on doing abs. I'm also not building muscle right now.
I mean, you can get abs just by being lean.
Yeah.
You will look good
Yeah.
by being lean. But if you want like thick, boom,
Like distended. Yeah.
big muscles,
You got to
you know?
do it.
Yeah. I do it because it protects everything too. It protects my spine. It protects,
You're super core focused.
Yeah, really. Because everything I do, whether it's kickboxing or jiu-jitsu, it's very core focused.
Yeah.
So it makes a big difference to have a strong back and strong abs. So I do a lot of reverse hyper. I use that machine a lot. I do sit-ups on that thing. What's it called? The Glutton GHB.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Glutton
looks like
buttocks.
a really extended sit-up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly. I do a lot of those, and I do back extensions on those too. And so I do. That's all work. So I'm working my lower back with a reverse hyper. I'm working it again with the back extensions. I'm doing my abs with that, and then I have. You ever seen an ab mat? You know what those are? Rogue makes it. Rogue Fitness. I love it. It's crazy. This little hump, It's not high. It's this little hump. But it makes such a difference in like a sit-up. Because if your back is flat on the ground, it's so much easier to sit up than it is with just this little hump.
Right.
It's so strange.
Yeah.
Like you would think, like, what is this little bitch-ass hump? That doesn't matter. But it does. That thing right there.
Oh,
That's what I
wow.
have. That little hump, when you go down, first of all, it protects your butt and keeps you from getting torn up on the floor. But that thing right there, the ab mat, I fucking love that thing.
I like the crack there too. That's
Yep.
convenient.
Yeah, where your legs and your old sackaroonie can sort of nestle itself in the middle there. But when you use that for sit-ups, it makes the sit-ups more demanding. And then I do these other sit-ups with kettlebells. I forget what they're called. There's a name
Like
for
where
it.
it's on your chest. and
No. I put my feet in two kettlebells. So I'll take like two 50s and I'll hang them over my toes, and then I'll take two other 50s and I'll sit back and I'll sit up with the kettlebells. So I'll force myself to like press these kettlebells, and then I'm raising it up, so it's a strong abdominal exercise that you really can only do like 10 reps or so in.
Right.
Yeah, it's just really good for developing all that muscle. And then I love Turkish get-ups too.
Yeah.
Because Turkish get-ups works the whole core.
Yeah, those are gnarly. I did read an article once years ago when I was super cardio focused that said that this like overweight power lifter really wanted abs, and the way he got them is he did this kettlebell thing where he did 1,000 swings a day for 10 days. And I did that, and I didn't get abs. And I was like, fucking, I'm over it. This is bullshit.
How was he doing it? How did he get 1,000 swings a day for 10 days and that gave him abs?
I don't know, because that's not the way it works. But this was back in the day where I wasn't really paying attention to like how stuff actually worked.
I mean, it does engage. It engages your abs for sure.
Yeah.
But I would imagine it's more like your lower
Hamstrings,
back and
dude.
your hams and your
I couldn't sit on a toilet on day 3. It was awful.
hamstrings.
Yeah.
Really? There was all hamstrings.
I mean, that was the thing that fired the most for me was hamstrings. And by the 10th day, they were okay again. But day 3 and 4, I wasn't sitting down. It was really painful.
When I realized how weak my hamstrings are was when I got this device called a monkey feet. You know what monkey feet is?
No.
It's a thing you strap onto your foot and you put a dumbbell in it. So it like your foot is grabbing, and then I'll do like leg curls, like I would do arm curls with my legs.
Oh, fuck.
And I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm so weak. Like I thought my legs were strong as fuck.
Yeah.
But like doing curls with my legs, doing that, it's very weak. But it also allows you to do things for your hip flexors, so you could lift like knee raises while holding on to like a 35-pound dumbbell with this thing at the bottom of your foot. And some guys work up to 45 pounds, 55 pounds, and you could really build the muscle tissue in your hamstrings and your hip flexors in a way that you kind of can do by holding something in your arm.
Yeah. I do mostly straight leg deadlifts for hamstrings.
Well, those are good too.
Yeah.
But again, I thought it was a lot stronger. I thought my hamstrings were a lot stronger than they were. And in jiu-jitsu, hamstrings really come into play because you want to squeeze someone and hold them in place. And you sort of develop that strength just from grappling, but you certainly can enhance it with lifting weights with your hamstrings. But I think the best way I've found is with these monkey feet things because it forces it to act as an individual unit. It forces it to balance the weight and maneuver it, and I think it gets all those stabilizing muscles.
I trained with Eddie Bravo a long time ago, and I have gigantic legs, very, very strong legs, as you know, somebody who carried around 550 pounds would have. And I would go around to other places whenever I'd travel. I'd find somebody and go do a private somewhere. And I was like, I'm going to throw a fucking lockdown on Marcelo Garcia and see if my legs are really strong. They weren't shit. Nothing. They did nothing. He was like, oh, that hook, that's interesting. And just fucking came right out.
You're talking about the master.
I know.
I mean, Marcelo
I didn't
Garcia.
think I was going to actually do anything beyond that. I just thought I could throw the lockdown on him.
And hold him in place.
And show him, like, this is what real strong legs are. Because he's got pretty good calves, too.
Oh, my God. That's a big part of Marcelo's game is his control with his legs.
Yeah.
And his arms are not big.
No.
They're very small. And that's
His
one of the
legs are
reasons why
big.
they're very big. But that's all genetic, right? And that's one of the reasons why Marcelo always avoids what he calls strongman moves.
Right.
Like Marcelo never uses kimuras because he feels like kimuras are a strongman move, which
Right.
is really interesting. But a lot of guys who even like Gabe Tuttle, who's the head coach at 10th Planet in Austin, he uses Kimuras, and he's a small guy, but he likes Kimuras to set up other things.
Right.
So he uses Kimuras because when you have to defend Kimuras, then it sets up back attacks, it sets up arm bars and triangles. There's different things that happen. So as you clamp onto that Kimura and pull it, the guy has to react, and then you use that because it's a very predictable action, right? If you have a hold of a person's arm and you're threatening with a Kimura, there's not a whole lot of things they have to do, or they can do rather. So you got this thing and you're yanking it back like that. Like they kind of have to do this.
Right.
So as you anticipate that, then you transition to a triangle, or you transition to something else, or take the back. Like there's a whole series. I think David Avalon has a whole series of Kimura traps, and how they call it a Kimura trap.
Yeah.
You're setting up. You're using this attack, and you can finish with that attack if you get it, but you're setting up a bunch of other stuff.
Right.
But Marcelo didn't even fuck with it. He's like, I'm just strangling bitches.
Right. I'm just going to hold them with my legs and strangle them.
Yeah, just gonna his arm bars are great. Everything is great for sure, but man, he would get your back. Marcelo got the back. I remember I was in Brazil in 2003 and I saw him put Shaolin to sleep. He arm dragged, and no one knew who Marcelo was at the time, but he arm dragged him and then took the back, and the two of them were rolling. They're spinning on the mat, and by the time the spin was done, Shaolin was unconscious. It was wild.
That's awesome.
And it was quick. See if you could find that.
Marcelo
Garcia versus Shaolin, 2003, Abu Dhabi. And I remember I was right there, man. I was in the stands, like 20 yards away, watching him do this. I'm like, whoa, watch this. So they're tying up. Look at this. Arm drag, take the back, and spin.
God.
And by the time he gets to here,
Done.
he's out fucking cold. He's trying to resist as much as he can. So they're still spinning. And then by the time, look at those fucking legs he has. He's out cold.
That's awesome.
And Shaolin is a world-class black belt.
And this was is this what made Marcelo Garcia Marcelo Garcia?
Yes. Yeah, this was when the world first found Marcelo Garcia. Shaolin was already a known black belt. But to show that again, because the way he did it, by this arm drag, so they're tying up, and this is early in the match too, man. Look at this. He kind of pulls guard, uses his legs to upset the balance, and then holds him in place with his legs as he spins and takes the back. And then Shaolin is defending the best he can, but Marcelo just, again, not big arms, but perfect technique.
But look at how big his legs are compared to the rest of his body.
Enormous. And he used those legs. He used those legs to transition. He uses those legs to enter into techniques, and he uses those legs as control when he gets a hold of a guy. And by the way, couldn't be a nicer human being.
Yeah.
He's like one of the nicest guys I've ever met in my life. He's so friendly and smiling. You would never imagine.
He's a savage.
Like if there was him and like a couple other fucking jack buff dudes, he'd be like, which one of these guys is the biggest killer? You'd be like, oh, that guy with the fucking big shoulders. And like, no. This guy, this mousy looking fella who's always smiling.
Yeah.
He'll fucking kill everybody in this
and
room.
He has pants on so you can't even see that he's got fucking lethal weapon legs.
They're like Herschel Walker's legs in a 5'6" guy.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah.
And watching him in Abu Dhabi, I've seen him several times compete. Watching him live is something special because it's just like the transition is so smooth. His attack is so smooth, and it's so technique based. And he has just a few techniques that he hits over and over and over and over and over again. And like everybody knew he wanted your back. Everybody knew he wants your back. Good luck stopping it.
Right.
He could get to that back so quickly.
I can't believe he did that in that melee.
I know.
That's incredible.
Wild scramble.
Yeah.
I mean, we were all like, whoa, who is this guy? And we knew that he was from Fabio Gurgel's school. Fabio Gurgel's a very famous Brazilian jiu-jitsu, a real legend, early pioneer. So everybody knew he was well instructed, but just like, why didn't we know about this guy? Like, how come out of nowhere he's strangling everybody and he wins Abu Dhabi? It was wild.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu is just so amazing. It's the one martial art where it does what a martial art's supposed to do. What a martial art's supposed to be is that a smaller man with good technique can beat a larger man. And that kind of can work in other martial arts, but man, that smaller guy's got to be so much better.
Yeah.
Like in striking, the smaller man has to be so much better. Like Logan Paul is going to fight Floyd Mayweather. Logan Paul
A lot
is
bigger.
a big guy. He's like, what is he, like 6'2"-ish, somewhere around that range, 200 pounds, lean, fucking strapping kid. Floyd is, at his best, he was 147, 154.
He's a tiny guy.
He's not a big guy. He's small hands, but everyone's betting on Floyd, even though he's literally 50 pounds lighter than this guy, because he's so much better.
Is there a puncher's chance in that situation?
Yes. It's a low percentage. Like, you wouldn't want to bet it.
Right.
You might want to bet it for a goof.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I would imagine. Let me guess
Is it a
what the odds
professional
are.
fight? No.
I believe they're calling it an exhibition. Look, come on. Logan Paul's fucking thick. I met the dude in person. I met him at in Hawaii. It was right after he had that boxing match with KSI. He was vacationing at the same place I was with my family, and all of a sudden I get this tap on my shoulder. I'm like, oh, what's up, dude?
He is
Big
not
kid.
the same guy that just
No, that's
fought.
his brother Jake.
Okay.
Jake is allegedly the more talented boxer. He certainly has preposterous knockout power. He can knock motherfuckers out. You can't sleep on that guy just because he's a YouTube star and he talks a lot of shit. But they're training together there. But Logan is the guy who's fighting Floyd, and Floyd is considerably smaller than him. And I would imagine the odds, I'm going to say 20-1.
Right.
Say
That he wins.
That
the
Floyd
Paul kid
wins. No,
Right.
Floyd. That Floyd Mayweather
20 to
wins.
1
That
that-
Floyd wins.
right.
Yeah, you would. Floyd is the favorite.
Yes,
in
yes,
a big,
yes.
big way. Oh, 20-1 against.
Yes.
Yes. Is that right? See, motherfucker, I know my
21,
shit.
fucking
I'm a
gambler.
professional.
Yeah.
Not really.
But you know
not
a lot about
gambler.
this kind of
I
thing.
know about that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I know about like, it might happen. Weird
Right.
shit can happen.
Yeah.
So if I was for a goof, I want to bet $50. I might put $50 on the kid.
I'm not such a boxing fan. I really think
You had it right. 20-1 actually for Floyd to win. So you have to
Yeah.
bet 2,000 to win 100.
Yeah.
90,
Yeah.
Wow.
Plus, it's 9-1 for Logan to win.
Yeah.
so. You bet
Oh, that's interesting.
$10. You
So
win 90?
9-1 for Logan to win, but 20-1 for Floyd to win.
100 pays 900, but if you want to win 100 on Floyd, you got to bet 2,000.
Okay, so they're making it difficult. Yeah.
Yes.
They're
Well-
gonna make. Somebody's gonna make a lot of money.
Yeah, if you want to bet $1 million, yeah, you'll make some money, but you might
Right.
sweat it.
No,
thing-
but I think the odds makers are making money with that
Yeah,
differential, right?
Yeah. Well, Joey Diaz always says, "I never met a bookie with a part-time job."
Right.
The thing that could happen, and this is very unlikely to happen, but what could happen is if Logan holds him and hits him and hurts him. So if there's a moment in an exchange where Logan, who is a very good wrestler, we saw him wrestle Paulo Costa, who's a UFC middleweight contender, and you watched the scrambles. Like, he was controlling Costa, and they scrambled. He was keeping up with Costa. But you watched him move, and you're like, man, this kid can fucking wrestle. And Floyd is not like this one-punch, obliterating knockout power puncher. And then he's also 50 pounds lighter. So the weirdness, what's the weirdest thing that can happen is Logan could somehow or another tie him up and clip him.
Right.
Like really hard, because he's a big guy. If I was his coach, I'd be like, listen, motherfucker, you are not outboxing the greatest boxer of all time. What we're going to do is we're going to cover up. We're going to cheat. We're going to maul
A lot
this
of
guy.
shoulders.
Yeah, we're going to maul him. We're going to push him around. I want you to hold him, and I would say plant your feet and push him over your knee. You might twist his ankle and fuck his knee up. And we're going to mug him in the clinch. That's the thing. Cover up and mug him in the clinch. Because he's just going to pop you with the jab, keep moving, throw a punch, but don't throw a punch like you're even trying to hit him. Just get close. When he's throwing a punch at you, close the distance. Actually close the distance and tie him up. And just fucking try to whale him in the clinch. Because that's the only time you're going to hit him.
I'm now nervous for Mayweather. Like, now I'm scared. Now I want to bet Logan.
I would never train a guy like him if I was a trainer. I would never train a guy like him to try to box with Floyd. I'm like, you are not going to be on the outside trying to outmaneuver literally the slickest boxer that's ever walked the face of the earth.
Do you get broken up if you get an underhook?
It depends on the referee. That's the thing. Like, some referees say fight through it, and it really depends on whatever rules they develop specifically for this, when sort of understanding. Like, I know there was like some specific understandings for the Conor McGregor fight. When Conor fought Floyd, like if he did anything that was like MMA related, like if he tried to take him down or kick him or something like that, I think he would lose like all his money or be fined $1 million or something.
I went to that fight.
Did you?
And I was like, I was waiting for a leg kick. I was thinking like, you're gonna get pissed off and like body slam the guy.
He could have if he wanted to, but I think he had an opportunity to win $100 million.
Right.
And that's what he got.
And you risked everything.
He made
$100
$100 million in that fight, which is so crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. It's fucking insane.
That fight made Conor McGregor so fucking rich. And he did catch Floyd. That's what's crazy. When he clipped him with that uppercut in the first round,
Yeah.
Floyd was like, oh, shit. Like, this guy can strike.
Yeah.
But Conor's used to, like, being a sniper and using all his other tools, like kicks and, kicking the legs and jabbing the body with that front kick that he likes to throw. For him to just use his hands only, he could kind of get things off until Floyd figures out his timing. And then once Floyd figured out the timing, then Floyd was just not there when those punches landed. And then Conor's punches became more and more labored, and Floyd just dragged him into the later rounds and started fucking him up.
Do you think that's like the worst thing that can happen for a fighter? Like a fighter like Conor, who I remember watching a video on him before maybe his first UFC fight, when they followed him around Ireland. He did not have much money at all. Poor kid, training, hungry. To go from that to making $100 million in a boxing match, where as long as he doesn't kick the guy, he makes a fortune,
right,
is maybe the worst thing. I mean, for a guy who still seems like at times like he wants to fight, for that sport, for mixed martial arts, having so much seems to be working against him. No? It can. There's no absolutes. Right.
Here's the thing you have to think. Floyd Mayweather fucked him up with like $500 million in the bank.
Right.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Because Floyd Mayweather, when they did fight, Floyd Mayweather was rich as fuck.
Yeah.
And still beat his ass. Way richer than Conor. Than Conor became after the fight.
Yeah.
It's not an absolute thing. Some people, like Michael Jordan, famously, it didn't matter if he was rich. He wanted to win.
Right, at anything.
Yeah. Some people are just winners. They
Playing war with a deck of cards, he wants to win.
Yeah, you beat him in pool, he won't talk to you for 2 weeks.
Right.
That was Michael Jordan. And there's guys like that in everything. And there's guys, and I think Floyd is like that in boxing. Some guys do, while acknowledging that, some guys do get soft though. Most guys get soft. Like, I don't remember who said it, who the quote was, but it's hard to be a savage when you're sleeping on silk sheets.
Right.
Yeah.
I think about it, and I only bring it up because it hasn't happened for me because I keep readjusting goals. I'm sorry to bring it back to diet again. I'm hyper concentrating on diet. But I do know that time after time, if my goal was just I want to lose 100 pounds, when I lose the 100 pounds and I go, well, I did that, the motivation or the hunger to keep it off, it could have just been that my goal wasn't to lose 100 pounds and keep it off for 5 years or 10 years or 20 years or whatever, or lose 100 pounds for life. My goals were literally just, I'm going to do this diet for 4 months. And so I think about like a guy, and I have no idea what Conor's goals are, but like a guy like that who goes like, I'm going to make $100 million. Once you make $100 million, you got to set new fucking goals, because he's not fighting the same way that he was, at least in UFC, prior to that.
Well, yes and no, because he was fighting the same way when he fought Cowboy Cerrone. When he fucked Cowboy up, he was rich as shit. You have to realize he had $100 million in the bank and he knocked Cowboy's block off.
That's true.
It's that fight, it's hard to judge him based on the Dustin Poirier fight, because most people tend to look at the end result. You tend to look at how it went down and how the fight ended. And if you look at how the fight ended, you go, oh, Conor soft. But when I look at it as an analyst, I look at it from the beginning to the end. And one of the best ways to look at it is My brother Daniel Cormier has a thing on ESPN called Detail about that fight. And he shows the first fight and he shows the second fight. And he shows the adjustments that Dustin Poirier made. And then he shows the difference between the way Conor fought the first fight and Conor fought the second fight. And one of the things is Dustin started kicking the low calf instead of the thigh. In the first fight, he kicked the thigh. It's way easier to absorb a few hard kicks to the thigh than it is a few hard kicks to the calf. The calf, it becomes debilitating almost immediately.
Right.
1 or 2 good shins slamming into your calf. There's just not enough meat there. There's a thing called compartment syndrome that happens where your blood pools up in the leg. And there's a guy, you want to get grossed out? There's a guy named Austin Hubbard who fought in the UFC. Google compartment syndrome Austin Hubbard. He had a fight in the UFC and he got his legs kicked to high heaven. And afterwards, they swelled up so bad, they had to split his leg like a banana. They had to open
drain
up.
it?
Yeah, look at that.
Holy fuck.
Holy fuck. So Austin has this enormous scar leading down his leg, but that's what they had to do with his leg. So they had to open up. His leg was enormous.
And they couldn't sew it up, so they have a wound vac sucking the liquid away.
Exactly. And it was fucking rough, man. Like really rough. And they see him. Go to that picture that you got your cursor on. See, that's what his leg looked like. So he's sitting there in the hospital after the fight. His one leg is, and Austin fights at 155 pounds, I'm pretty sure. And it says welterweight Austin Hubbard.
Yeah, his name has 155 in it.
Oh, I think he's fighting welterweight, and well, he's fought both, I believe. That's what's going on. But his leg was twice the size of his other leg, just from swelling and tissue damage. And when you get that compartment syndrome, they have to alleviate the. Look at that one picture. Go back to where you were. Look at that picture in the middle with the two legs split open. I know, but look at that. That's an example of compartment syndrome. So they have to open you up and figure out a way to drain all that shit. So see that? That's in the calf. And the compartment syndrome in the calf is it happens even more often for whatever reason.
I spent a lot of time with a wound vac.
Yeah?
I have a disgusting story. I don't have pictures to show you. Not that I would show them if I had the pictures, but I had loose skin removed in 2008. Or maybe 2007. Anyway, somewhere around there. And they tell you, like, you can't move for a while. You got to sit around. I had a full cut all the way around, 11 pounds of skin. Yeah.
Think of 11 pounds of brisket.
Yeah. It's a fucking big brisket, dude. And this was just flat. Like, it puts the lotion in the basket skin.
Do you have photos of the skin?
Not accessible right now. If I do, they're on a disc somewhere. I did. I actually.
I don't know why I want to see it.
I will send you pictures.
Let's Google skin removal operation.
If you want to get really gross, and I don't talk about this much because it seems to put people off, but when I was going to have the skin surgery, I told the doctor that I wanted to tan the skin and make trinkets for my friends. And he was so offended by this. He was so gross. And I was like, it's just like the most loving gift I can imagine giving somebody, literally a piece of myself. And he was like, I'm Jewish. This offends me on so many levels. And I was like, I don't even understand what you're saying, but I don't want to do anything to somebody else that's bad and all of that. But
what about being Jewish makes that?
He was like, they made lampshades out of my people. And I was like, okay, I don't want to do that. I want to make keychain bangles for my friends.
That's a different thing.
It's a different thing. Also illegal in California.
To make keychains out of your skin?
To give somebody their skin. You can't do it.
What about toenails?
Toenails? That's what I mean, I said I got my wisdom teeth. When I had my wisdom teeth pulled, they handed me my wisdom teeth. I didn't understand.
We're very specific about what you can keep and not keep.
Skin is off limits, so I donated it to burn research. But I had so much anxiety about sitting still and gaining weight while I was sitting still that I didn't sit still, and I fell and tore my side open and had to have a wound vac just like that gentleman for a long time because they can't sew you back up, and it's fills with fluid, and you have to constantly suck the fluid away from the wound.
Why couldn't they sew you back up?
I don't know. But I did so much damage falling and tearing my side open that they had to. I had one of those wound vacs. Yeah,
How long did that last for? Look
months.
at it. There's
That's the best I could find.
there's
Yeah,
some
I
think that's
skin
what you
that they
wanted to see.
removed from somebody.
Yeah.
Fucking A, man. Jesus
That could be
Christ.
11 pounds. I mean, that looks like a lot of skin.
It looks a lot. Now, how long was the healing process from all this?
The entire last season of My Name Is Earl, I wore a wound vac that I would take off like as we would start rolling. But so it was months and months and months. It wouldn't have been if I hadn't have fallen and injured myself.
How long would it have been if you hadn't fallen?
3 or 4 months.
Even then, that's so long.
Yeah.
You know, the thing that really scares people about injuries is infections. right?
Yeah.
So that's, you had to worry about staph and things along those lines, or MRSA, which is really scary.
Oh, I was on heavy duty antibiotics, Levaquin, the whole time, just to kill bacteria as it came up, in case it was like something I had to take every day, no matter what, in case an infection happened.
Wow.
Yeah, it sucked.
And that wears you out too, right? Antibiotics just make you so tired.
Yeah, it was not something I would consider doing again, though I've been a healthy weight with excess skin for years now.
Gordon Ryan was in here the other day, who's the greatest jiu-jitsu grappler of all time, right? And
He's a young kid.
25
You think he's the greatest of all time?
of all time.
Really?
Yeah, he's the best.
Really?
Yeah, he's the best.
I know who he is. I just can't believe already at 25 he beats everyone.
This is the consensus.
How do we get like Hickson versus him?
Well, he's a lot bigger than Hickson.
Okay.
First of all, but obviously Hickson it's long past his time. It's a different world.
Yeah.
He taps big, giant Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champions.
Right.
And he puts them in bad situations and taps them like it's nothing.
I'm not
He's a
talking
freak.
shit and
No, I
saying
know
he's
you're
not
not.
great. I'm just
No,
saying
it's
the greatest of all time is
extraordinary.
25.
It's extraordinary. It's very unusual.
You were doing jiu-jitsu when he was 2 years old.
Exactly. Yeah. He learned from John Danaher, who's probably the greatest mind in combat sports alive today. Not probably. I think he is. You know, and when I found out that John Danaher, Gary Tonin, who is also one of the greatest grapplers alive, is also a John Danaher student, has entered into ONE FC, which is a mixed martial arts organization in Asia, and he's been incredibly successful. And then I was like, well, who's his striking coach? And Gordon's like, John Danaher is his striking coach as well. And I was like, what? And then I realized, like, holy shit. You're talking about a guy who used to teach philosophy at Columbia and then became obsessed with jiu-jitsu. Doesn't have a family, doesn't have a girlfriend. All he does is train fighters and study tape. Right. And I get a chance to talk to him this past weekend, and every time I talk to him, I'm reminded like how fucking brilliant the guy is. He's an extraordinary person. And Gordon, who is a great athlete, who has incredible dedication and discipline, was trained by the greatest mind in combat sports alive today, and maybe the greatest ever. How about that? John Danaher might be the greatest mind in combat sports ever. Right. And the two of them together, unstoppable combination. So you have genetics. He's a big, strong, tall kid who grew up doing jiu-jitsu, right? Starts jiu-jitsu when he was a kid, and then finds John Danaher and trains 7 days a week. And when he's not training, he's studying tape, and he's examining moves and going over things, and he's just fully dedicated. They don't take any days off, man.
Right.
And that's one of the things we talked about. No day. I'm like, no days off? Like, no, when I'm tired, I just train light. I'm like, what in the fuck? He's like, yeah, I might go in and get tapped a few times, but who gives a shit? Yeah. You know, if I'm worn out, I just go in and I keep training. I'm like,
and he hasn't had an MMA fight?
He has not yet. But he is signed for ONE FC, exclusive for MMA, and they might put him in grappling matches in ONE FC as well. ONE FC is a really interesting organization because they have kickboxing, they have Muay Thai, so they have regular kickboxing with gloves, with big gloves, boxing gloves. They have kickboxing with small gloves. They have Muay Thai with small gloves. They have MMA, and apparently they're going to have grappling as well. So they're going to give away a grappling belt, same way they have ONE FC belts for all these other disciplines.
Did ONE FC grow out of Strikeforce?
No, Strikeforce is purchased by the UFC.
Oh, When was that?
A long time ago.
Okay.
Yeah, UFC bought Strikeforce back in the early 2000s, I believe, because Ronda Rousey actually came from Strikeforce.
Okay.
Yeah. So when he does do MMA, if he does do MMA, he has to do it with ONE FC. That's where his contract lies. But
Right.
the contract allows him to grapple with ONE FC, but grapple everywhere else as well. And the conversation we were having was he's having a hard time getting opponents because no one wants to
grappling.
for grappling because no one wants to get manhandled. They get manhandled. Why did I say that that way? Manhandled. He doesn't just manhandle guys. He tells you how he's going to tap them. Like he fought Wagner Rocha, and he wrote on a piece of paper. He wrote a triangle, and he handed it to the guys who were doing commentary, and he said, "Open this envelope up after the match is over."
That's crazy. And he triangled.
And he's fighting a world-class guy. Wagner's a world-class guy. He fights this guy, triangles him. And he said he was going to manhandle him for a long time because the guy fucked with him when he was 19. He's going to manhandle him for a long time and then triangle him. And that's exactly what he did. And they had a match a long time ago. And the difference between, like several years ago, the difference between that match and today is stark. Like, Gordon is that much better. He continues to grow at this crazy rate and get better at this crazy rate. These other guys are recognizing, like, not only is he the best guy alive, but he's so much better than he was a year ago. He's so much better than he was a year before that. He's better than he was 6 weeks ago. He just keeps getting better. And he's only 25. So when you're 25, you just keep getting better. And he's training 7 days a fucking week. He gets up in the morning, he lifts weights, he does MMA training, and then he does jiu-jitsu, and then he eats, and he goes to sleep, and he does it all over again. And they moved to Puerto Rico so they could do it because New York City was shutting down the gyms.
Right.
So they're like, okay, we'll go over here.
Yeah.
And like, we're not going to stop. Like, we're not going to take a year off. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
So they just went to Puerto Rico.
That's exciting. I can't wait to see him fight MMA.
I'm excited about that, but honestly, I'm just as excited about him fighting and grappling. And I think,
But like who? Who do you want to see him fight?
that's what's interesting. With ONE FC, I think they have a promotional machine behind them with financial backing that might incentivize people to compete against him. So they might be able to talk some other elite grapplers who are also heavyweights to get in there and risk getting tapped, because this is what they want to avoid. Because, like, he had a match with Cyborg Roberto Abreu, who's huge fucking powerhouse of a man, like multiple-time world champion, and Cyborg is like widely respected as being like one of the top grapplers alive. Gordon trapped him early on, got him in a heel hook and tapped him out. And when people saw Cyborg get tapped out so easily by Gordon, they're like, "Holy shit!" It's changed the game.
Yeah.
And these guys,
How big is he?
Cyborg,
No,
240,
Gordon.
220.
Oh, he's really big.
He's big.
Yeah.
He's a big kid. And this is the thing, we got to Gordon from this conversation about staph infection.
Yeah.
So Gordon had this recurring staph infection over and over and over again. He kept taking these antibiotics, and he developed a stomach issue. I forget what it's called. But the stomach issue does not allow him to consume a bunch of different foods without getting nauseous. He's nauseous all the time.
Really?
Yeah, he can only consume small amounts of food too. And to maintain his mass, to be 220 pounds, he's got to like eat a lot of food.
Yeah.
He can only eat like white rice, chicken, fish, and a couple other things. And no oils or greases or anything like that.
I mean, in fairness, that sounds like a pretty healthy diet.
Not a bad diet,
Yeah,
but he can't
but
eat
boring.
like the amount that he wants. What is it called? Gastroparesis. Gastroparesis. So this is it, which means partial paralysis of the stomach is a disease which the stomach cannot empty itself of food in a normal way. If you have this condition, damaged nerves and muscles don't function with their normal strength and coordination, slowing the movement of the contents through your digestive system. And they think that happened because of the continual use of oral antibiotics, just over and over and over again. He's on this stuff, and it eventually fucked up his stomach.
And is the staph infection under control?
Staph infection's under control, but now he's got this gastroparesis. gastroparesis. Still, he can't
That
shake
sucks, dude.
it. Does suck.
That really sucks. I hope
Still the best.
still the best.
Still the best.
He
Even with this-
can't eat what he wants, and he's still the
Yeah,
best.
still with this fucked up stomach thing, because he thinks that if he didn't have the stomach thing, he could, because of his steady weightlifting and everything, he can get up to 240, where he thinks he can dominate people even more. And he's a
Jesus
big
fucking
kid.
Christ,
When you see
dude.
the size of him, he's a big kid. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's probably accurate. You
yeah,
know?
he'd need to eat a lot more, and maybe chicken and rice and vegetables isn't going to cut it. You need to up the
Maybe
fats.
larger calories, larger larger portions. But
Yeah.
it's just
That's
I love outliers. I
Yeah.
really do. I love exceptional human beings who could figure out things like that.
I do too.
Gets me excited. I love when there's a dude who's just so far ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about Hickson, like that was how everybody felt about Hickson when Hickson was in his prime. And Hickson was the same way. He was training every day. And Hickson's special thing was yoga.
Right.
Because Hickson had this crazy physicality and flexibility that these other jiu-jitsu guys did not have. And also this insane understanding of positions and insane understanding of the language of the interactions of human bodies in grappling exchanges. He just knew how to grapple in a way that other guys just did not, and a lot of it was just based on just repetition over and over and over and over again. And the fact that he was stronger than the other Gracies, so he got more taps in than they did, and that's how guys get really much better. Like a guy who's like physically stronger, and a guy who like Eddie Bravo always says that if you really want to get good, strangle blue belts. And it's really true, because you get more taps in when you're doing this.
More reps.
Yeah, you get more reps in. And that's what happened with Hickson. He was just better than everybody else and more physical. And it's one of the reasons why, there's a couple reasons why Horian Gracie, who created the UFC, wanted Hoist to compete rather than Hickson. One was that he couldn't control Hickson, because Hickson he don't listen to anybody but Hickson.
Right.
And the other one was that Hoist was less physically impressive. Like when you saw Hickson, you've seen Hickson
Yeah.
with his shirt off. I mean, he looks like a fucking assassin.
He looks like an Adonis.
Yeah, I mean, he was beautiful.
Yeah. Truly beautiful. Yeah.
He had perfect features. He was so handsome.
And Hoist compared to him was like a scrawny little guy.
Yes. So Hoist was a better example, it was a better demonstration
More
of
impressive,
jiu-jitsu.
certainly.
Yeah, in that way. And the idea was that they would use Hoist until Hoist lost, and if Hoist ever lost, then they bring in Hickson. Then
Right.
everybody's fucked.
Just assassinate people.
Yeah, but Hickson went over to Japan and won the Japan Valley Tudo and became a giant star in Japan. And then he fought in Coliseum, and he fought in Pride. And I think Coliseum was his last fight. And if I'm going to be accurate, I want to say it was the year 2000. I think that was Hickson's last hurrah.
So who today? I didn't mean Hickson should fight him now. Or
No, of course. But at the time,
yeah,
the version of Hickson versus the version of Gordon Ryan today.
And
yeah.
So we can't even play that game. Who today do you want to see Gordon fight?
It's I'd love to see Cyborg again. I think that would be an interesting fight, because Cyborg and him did have one other match, and Cyborg was disqualified for slapping Gordon in the head repeatedly.
That.
Yeah.
Which looked like a fucking bitch thing to do too, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he just, guys
get frustrated.
Get frustrated, they get emotional. I mean, Gordon talks so much shit too.
Really?
But meanwhile, it didn't bother him that he was getting smacked. He just kept rolling. I mean, his ultimate goal was to get Cyborg to engage with him and tap him out again.
Yeah.
And Cyborg was very defensive and used a lot of slaps and was very physical. There's some guys. Peña's really good. There's a lot of guys in the heavyweight division that are elite grapplers. But the thing is, a lot of them don't want to risk getting tapped.
Right.
That's what the thing is. That's the thing. They just don't want to risk having happen to them what happened to Wagner Rocha.
Yeah. But then if they put enough money, people will start to risk that.
If they put enough money, and that's the argument about something like ONE FC. Is that ONE FC might have the financial means to goad maybe some judo champions and some elite grapplers in other disciplines, and make it a big deal. And, do it in a stadium You know,
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? Because if you're doing it at one of those big 1FC shows, they have some pretty. Once they have audiences again, I don't think they're having. I think the UFC is the first combat sports organization in mixed martial arts, at least, to start having full stadiums again. And so the one that we did a couple of weeks ago in Jacksonville, Florida, was a full stadium, which is pretty fucking nuts.
Yeah.
It was
I'm
wild.
so
man.
glad it's coming back.
The electricity in the crowd is fucking tangible. It's crazy.
I liked what they were doing in, what was it, Dubai or Qatar or something?
It was Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
That was awesome, but it definitely felt from a audience perspective to be a little bit lacking without the feeling of a crowd.
Yeah, well, they kept the sport going, though. That's what they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kept the sport alive, and they allowed fans to come back in a limited capacity in Abu Dhabi for the Conor fight. I forget how many. They had rules, like you had to have a negative COVID test either day of or day before or something like that. There was some rules to get in there, and I don't think it was full capacity, but it was quite a few people. But when they fight again, it'll be in July at the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas, and barring some sort of crazy outbreak of COVID again, it should be full capacity.
Yeah.
It'll be wild.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, it is. It's a crazy sport, man. There's nothing like it. It really is nothing like it.
I never was super into boxing. It was the only thing that seemed to just be more entertaining. I enjoyed watching it more, and I like combat.
Yeah, I like boxing too. You know,
I'm
but-
not shitting on boxing.
No,
it just was not.
I know
my-
you're not.
Yeah.
I like boxing too, but yeah, MMA it's more dynamic. There's more involved. There's more options. It's more exciting, and it ends more suddenly more often.
Yeah.
You know, like if you watch the UFC fight last weekend or 2 weekends ago, this past weekend, this Prohaska. How do you say it? Prohaska. I think that's how you say his name. Yuri Prohaska. Did you see that fight? Bro, that guy is a monster. He's a real problem. He's this guy from the Czech Republic, this big fucking crazy striker who fights wild, and he just comes straight at you and puts it on you in this wild way where he just throws himself at fighters and forces them into these dog fights.
Yeah.
And he got tagged. He got rocked in the fight at one point in time, but then he knocked Dominic Reyes out with a spinning elbow. And it was just, face plant, out cold. And Dominic Reyes is a guy who went 5 hard rounds with John Jones.
Right.
And then he got stopped by Jan Blachowicz. And then he got really fucked up by Prohaska.
Yeah. It's going to be fucking wild. Is John Jones going to come back and fight in
Supposedly, he's going to fight in the heavyweight division, and supposedly he's going to fight Francis Ngannou.
But it's not done.
It's not done. Okay. And Francis Ngannou, if John and the UFC don't make an agreement, then Francis is going to fight Derek Lewis, who is the last guy to beat him in a decision.
That's a fun fight, too.
Fuck yeah. Derek is terrifying. Derek's terrifying. Derek is the only guy that can knock guys out as impressively, maybe even more so than Francis.
Yeah.
Because he face planted Curtis Blades with one punch. You know, Derek can knock any man out. Any man alive. He's so big. Derek is huge.
Yeah.
So he's a natural 265 pounder too, and he's just got a real knack for knocking people unconscious. And you know what he said about Francis, said if we fight again, he's going to knock him the fuck out.
Right.
Which is crazy. If he knocked Francis out, that would be full on bananas.
Yeah.
And you know, Derek has the ability. He really can knock anyone out. And if Francis has to fight Derek, he has to be much more careful than he was against Stipe, because Derek is a one-punch guy. Like, one punch can change everything. So that'll be fun. Either
That'll be
way,
fun.
I'm
I
in
can't
for all of them,
fucking wait. Yeah,
no matter
me too.
what. So
Yeah.
why'd you stop? What is this
Sorry,
here?
here's the.
Oh, yeah, this is the spinning elbow. Watch this. I mean, fuck, dude. Crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah, he's something special. It's not just that, man. It's all the other stuff that he did in the fight as well. And it's the pace that he set. He has crazy cardio, and he's a wild guy. Like, real wild. Like, even after the fight, he was upset with himself for getting hit. He's like, oh, I got really caught. I don't think it was a masterpiece. He was talking crazy. He's like, he's a wild, like sort of a interesting person, like the way he thinks and, you know, it's just, and the way he fights is not like anybody else.
Yeah.
He just goes right at you.
Yeah.
He just puts it on you.
He's going to give people trouble.
He's going to give everybody trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
is that his first fight in the UFC?
Second fight.
Second fight, okay.
Yeah, his first fight, he fought Ozdemir, Volkan Ozdemir. Knocked him the fuck out, too, which is crazy. And
what is that weight class?
Ozdemir is scary, 205.
205, okay.
Ozdemir is scary. Ozdemir is a serious knockout puncher, and he slept him.
Yeah.
I mean, both guys flatlines him. You seen that fight?
I'm looking at his record right now. Everything he has is a KO.
Yeah.
Wow.
One decision here.
Yeah.
TKO
Bro,
retirement, TKO head, and everything is
he's a monster.
KOs.
He's a monster.
Yeah.
One draw.
Super creative.
Were you asking why I stopped training?
Yeah, why'd you stop training?
I started training more with force multipliers. So I was doing a TV show, and the character I was playing was based on a real dude who his job is to train tier 1 guys in edged weapons, blades, knives, and stuff like that. And Tom Kyer is his name. He's a real guy. He's fucking awesome. And I just kind of moved over to the idea. Obviously, I think that all of this stuff is super beneficial and good to keep up with. But when I think about getting into a fight, I have 4 kids, 2 are in college. They're all girls. I feel very protective of them, but I'm not going to bars and putting myself in situations where I'm going to have like a street fight. And so when I would think about that, I would think like, what would the circumstances be to require me to have some kind of a physical altercation? And it always came down to their lives or my wife's life was in danger. And then it just led to like the idea of weapons, basically. And so I started training with weapons.
You train with pistols?
Yeah. I shoot USPSA.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you're serious.
I mean, I like training. I don't know how serious I am. I also live in California, so everything becomes more difficult out there.
Right.
You know? Carrying a fixed blade is more illegal than carrying a pistol in California.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's a felony to conceal carry a fixed blade knife. It is a misdemeanor to conceal carry a pistol in California. These are California's laws. So all these things become difficult to train with this stuff, but I also am mostly at my house, and it's not illegal to carry anything at your house.
Right. Have you ever gone to like a tactical course and done like Terran Tactical?
I haven't done Terran Tactical, but I've trained with guys like Bill Rapier, Kyle DeFore. These guys were all in DevGru for a long time, and I've trained with those dudes.
It's interesting the attitude about guns in California and how it shifted post-COVID, isn't it?
Whew. Guns sold out during COVID. By the way, there's a national bullet shortage.
Yeah,
now.
it's real hard to get bullets.
Yeah.
Yeah, but wasn't it interesting, like how, I don't know if this is the case with you, well, people who never talked about guns all of a sudden started inquiring about guns. And I'm sure if people know that you train with guns, they probably question you about it. Like, hey, man, how
I
do
had
I
a
get
lot
one?
of calls like, I should get a gun. I'm going to get a gun. And my answer to every one of these people was like, please go do a course first. Go do a gun safety course at least. Learn, you know, I wouldn't, like, I'm not even taking a position on like what's right and wrong as far as the law goes, or, you know, if we should have more or less regulations. But like, I wanted my friends to at least be able to operate it safely before they had it in their house.
Yes,
you know?
and know how to keep it safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, just make sure that they're locked up and nobody can just get to them easily. All that stuff is very, very tricky.
I had a friend ask me to borrow a gun, and I was like, are you fucking crazy?
I've
There's
had that.
no way.
Yeah, I've had that conversation too. And many other friends that I have that have had guns have also had those conversations with other people.
Yeah.
When they've asked them. it's apparently a common thing.
Yeah.
You know, I know you have more than one gun. Like, bitch, I'm not going to jail.
Yeah, I'm not getting in trouble.
Yeah, because that's illegal. That's
Right.
it's legal for me to have more than one gun. It's not legal for me to give one to you.
Yeah, and I just think like a person who has no knowledge or experience with
terrible.
that, I don't want to be a part of
Oh,
handing them
yeah.
something.
But just the first time you shoot a gun and you realize how loud it is and how much kick it has, like
Yeah. Yeah, it's
and
a
you
lot.
don't even know how to aim it. Like
Right.
you need to learn. You know, I remember the first time I ever went to a gun range was actually the first time I moved to California. I bought a gun and went to the range because you couldn't get a gun in New York.
Yeah.
And it's easier to get a gun out here than it is in New York. And when I went to the range, and I remember walking in and hearing bang, bang,
And you feel
bang, and you're like, whoa. It made you feel so vulnerable.
Yeah.
And you realize, like, wow, that's what bullets sound like.
Yeah. Little explosions.
Yeah, little explosions, and then once you do it and you pull the trigger a few times and hit targets, you're like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's fun. This is another place where people get so divided, and I just think it comes down to like preferences and values, and I hear people argue about it, and I'm like, sounds like people are arguing about flavors of ice cream to me, because it's like, I like this, I don't like this, and what I like you should like, and it's, it's a weird thing to think about.
Well, people don't like the argument that if you take guns away, then you'll be helpless against a tyrannical government. That is a slippery one with people. They're like, what? Oh, come on. You think that's going to happen? Oh, come on.
Right.
And I'm like, no, I don't think it's going to happen. But
I like the senator who said the U.S. government has nukes, talking about like how people with firearms at home couldn't defend themselves against the U.S. government.
yeah.
And I just wish I could point out to that guy that neither Vietnam or Afghanistan had nukes. They didn't have much of anything, and they seemed to do pretty well against the U.S. government.
Yeah, it's a good argument. But Afghanistan, obviously, it's a terrain issue.
Right.
You know.
But
And
they don't
Vietnam-
have nukes.
No, but if we used one on Afghanistan, that would be a wrap.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think that the U.S. government is going to use nukes on
Yeah.
U.S. people.
No, it's a dumb argument. I know what but people try to do those things because they're actually trying to win an argument. They're not trying to be rational.
Yeah.
They're trying to say something that would work.
Right.
Like, ta-da, gotcha.
Yeah.
You know?
We won. The U.S. government won.
4 aces. Yeah. It's you don't want to ever think that the government could go south and become tyrannical, but it could.
Sure.
And it might not with this organization, with this administration rather, but it might with 3 administrations from now. And I can say that with all sincerity. I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm just looking at what happened over the last year with COVID, and not necessarily even in America. Look what's going on in Canada. When you see 200 cops show up because these people are having a church service and they've decided you can't gather. And so 200 cops show up at a church. Like, what are you doing? What's going on there?
Yeah.
Like, that seems kind of fucking crazy. It seems like there's an overreach. And like, what if this overreach extends? Now, we're talking about a disease that kills a very small percentage of people. It's all tragic. Everyone who dies, it's a tragedy. No argument there. It's sad no matter what. But what if it's a disease that kills 10% of the people? What if it's 20? If they see you outside your house, are they going to shoot you to protect other people? Are they going to treat you like you're a zombie?
The argument breaks down because we're now worried about the total loss of life. When we had the lockdown, it was because of potential medical infrastructure collapse.
Right.
That was why we couldn't risk the hospitals being overfilled. Now, I understand that because if that infrastructure collapses, that's devastating to the country.
Right.
78%, and I thought it was 80, you corrected me earlier, 78% of the people who were hospitalized for COVID were obese. We're not allowed to tell anybody to lose weight, but if they did, we would certainly, and I'm not saying it would be 1-for-1, but we would certainly reduce the need for hospitalization. So all of these things are values.
Yeah, Bill Maher had a great bit about that. He had a great piece about Michelle Obama, when Obama was president, Michelle Obama had some get out and move campaign, right? And that if something similar was employed during the Trump administration, during COVID, that we could have gotten people healthier and said, but I don't think they necessarily knew at the time. I think it took a few months before they recognized that obesity was one of the main comorbidity factors. But vitamin D is another big one. And
which they took away by keeping us inside.
yeah, most people need vitamin D, even if you go outside, though, unfortunately, because you're wearing clothes and you don't want to get skin cancer.
Right.
So we've been programmed to think that you have to, you can't be exposed. You have to put sunscreen on, which is fucking gnarly chemicals, right? But vitamin D, 84 in one study at least, 84% of the people in the ICU with COVID had insufficient levels of vitamin D, and only 4% had sufficient levels, which is really crazy. I mean,
Right.
that's obviously. It's doesn't mean it protects you 100%, but it's a strong factor. And then when you look at the national numbers, I think 79% of the population in total has insufficient levels of vitamin D. It is a real problem because it's a hormone, and it's a hormone that your body best produces when you're out in the sun, but you don't get it any other way unless you supplement.
Right.
You don't get it from your diet. You don't get it from anything. It doesn't exist in foods. You literally have to take it as a supplement. And
Why is this not pushed
exactly
as a value?
Yeah, why is it not pushed as a value?
Yeah.
The New York Times recently had a piece that they put about how people who exercise regularly, it's a strong factor in not having COVID in a severe case and recovering from it quicker. This is another thing that doesn't get discussed. All that gets discussed is, locking down, vaccinations, all these different things, when it should be a many multi-tiered approach to getting people healthier. But it's hard to tell people to be healthy. It's like what we were talking about before, like hearing you talk about the emotional pain involved in being overweight before you decided to take these incredible steps and this amazing result. It makes you think like, man, like it's hard to tell someone, especially someone like me who's never really been fat. It's hard to tell someone that you have to lose weight. So if the government started doing it, and God damn it, there's so many snowflakes today. If they did start doing it, people would be freaking the fuck out. Like, what do you say? You're injuring me with your words.
Yeah.
You're causing violence with your words. You make me.
But did you know that also there's a movement that links the idea of diet culture to racism also? In any form?
What?
Yeah.
How do they do that?
Apparently, there was a kind of somewhat of a predilection amongst black men to favor larger women. And so in order to shame that whole group for their race, this is what the theory is, that diet culture grew out of that.
Is this part of critical race theory?
Yes.
Don't they just find everything? Is it coffee racist yet?
I suppose so. I just think it becomes very dangerous to encourage people to lose weight. And for me, I understand like health was not my main driving motivation. Today it's a big part of it. 20 years ago, it wasn't even 5%.
There's a real problem with there's a culture of call out in this country. There's a culture of attack vectors. They're looking for a reason that you're bad or you're wrong or you're guilty or you're responsible for something, whether you are or you aren't. And then if you are saying this publicly, and one of the problems with social media is, even if what you're saying doesn't necessarily make sense, you can get enough fucking people to agree with you and they'll pile on.
Yeah.
And then the person who is in this debate is an individual and they get attacked by enormous amounts of people. And it's a bad proposition. And for the person that gets attacked, it feels like the walls are closing in on you. Like, oh my God. Like, I know people that are like very educated, intelligent people. And then they espouse something online that goes against the mob and they get attacked and it wrecks them. It wrecks them emotionally. And I've seen it happen. I'm like, man, you got to stay offline.
Yeah.
Like, just get out of there. Like, don't. But I can't help. I'm to defend myself. Like,
Right.
But you don't have to defend yourself. I mean, brilliant people who've like wrecked vacations because they checked something on Twitter where someone was attacking them. They spent all their vacation time in the hotel room crafting a response. Like,
Yeah.
man, don't do it. Don't do it. But it's a part of this weird culture that we find ourselves in where people realize that's an effective thing. If you have an opinion that I don't agree with, we will attack that opinion. And then a bunch of people that who agree with your perspective will pile onto it. And it's a natural inclination people have when you see someone vulnerable to pile on. It's an animal thing. You know, you see it with other animals. When a wolf is cowering from the other wolves, they'll all attack that wolf and fuck it up.
Yeah.
It's a natural instinct to see weakness and to attack, or to sense vulnerability and attack. And that is playing itself out in social media.
Yeah.
You see it with people. So if someone says that diet culture is racist, and so I agree, and then like you know, and then next thing you know,
or whatever,
Or
it's,
whatever.
it's
Yeah.
toxic or whatever,
Yeah.
whatever it is. I don't give a shit if people want to be overweight and they're overweight. But for anybody who wants to lose weight and has failed and is struggling, and there's a conversation to be had.
there's
You
a
can
conversation
talk about
to be
it.
had. There's a conversation to be had, but I think it has to be had maybe through someone who's actually done it. And I think you have an amazing position because what you've done is incredible. It took a long time. It took an amazing amount of work, and it changed who you are as a human being. You're more confident. You have more energy. You're far healthier. You look amazing. And you look at these pictures of who you were and who you are now. You are a guy who can speak to it in a way that I can't. You know, I for very fortunate reasons, my family ate healthy when I was young. I have good genetics, and I worked out from the time I was a kid. I've never stopped working out, so I've never really had an issue like that. But fuck, I could have if I was you. That's
Sure.
like what we were talking about earlier. Like when someone said, I can never do what you do. Well, you could if you were me.
Right.
And that's Sapolsky. That's determinism.
Yeah.
And it's real, man. It's hard for people to recognize that. But I think overall, in general, we need to be way more compassionate with each other. And one way is to recognize that you don't exist the way you are because you just decide this is the way to be, and it's real clear, and I'm going to fuck people over, and I'm going to do this, and this is who I am, period, fuck off. No, you just become that person over a long period of time. And I was explaining to someone recently, and I've said it more than once, but it bears repeating, that when I had children, it changed who I am as a person, because then I started to think of people as babies. I never thought of people as babies. If I met a guy and he was a 40-year-old asshole, I'm like, there's Tom, that 40-year-old asshole.
Right.
I never thought, Tom used to be a baby. And he was this cute little kid, but his parents fought around him, and then maybe he got spanked too much when he did things wrong, and he didn't even understand what was going on. And maybe his brother beat the shit out of him, and maybe went to school with kids who bullied him. And then, maybe he fucking got arrested and did time in jail for something he didn't do. And next thing you know, here's Tom, the 40-year-old asshole that's giving me a hard time at the gas station. And I'm thinking about flatlining Tom. I'm like, motherfucker. Like, you think of people as who they are now.
Yeah.
And I think we would all be better off if we just recognized that, like, everybody's path is different. And if someone came out fucked up, there's that old saying, right? Hurt people hurt people. That shit's real.
It is. My fear with determination and
Determinism?
Determinism, sorry. And I think with it all the time. And I think
Doesn't absolve you.
Exactly.
Right.
It can be this thing where I go like, well, my experiences led me to here, so this is it. And I think that you can create experiences that can lead you in another direction. Yeah.
Right.
Gurdjieff is a philosopher who talked about the eyes, how we're not just a singular thing. Like I have, and it, not in a schizophrenic way, but many voices in my head at all times saying like, drink this water, don't drink this water, have a nicotine mint, you want a McRib, the McRib is bad, eat the McRib. No, I'm going to have chicken and rice. Like these voices exist. So like make a decision and pick an eye. And then there are various ways that we can go about like accomplishing stuff if we don't try to accomplish everything in a day, I think. So I get scared, and I don't think this is the point of Sapolsky, but I think it's easy to hear that and to go like, everything led me to this point. I'm a product of all of this. I cannot beat it.
Right.
That's my fear with that. And And so I go like, there's got to be some middle ground between the two, between free will and recognizing all of that, you know?
There really does. And I think that's where communication comes in, and that recognition that human beings don't exist in a vacuum. We're all in this together. And we need each other to check each other, to recognize when our behavior is off, and then to be kind about it.
Yeah.
And to let people know, like, hey, you've made a mistake here. You fucked this up. And for that person to recognize that this person is reaching out with kindness and then respond in turn with kindness and say, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to. I understand that I did something incorrect. And we can do that.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of call-out culture, right? It's a kindness culture. It's like a compassion culture. That's what we really need in response. And unfortunately, some really intelligent people who are well-meaning, they think they're doing the right thing, are involved in this sort of cancel culture thing where they're attacking people. And it's bad for everybody. It's bad for them, too, because they kind of feel what they're doing while they're doing it. It gives you a very low opinion of yourself. Because if you're a person that's piling on someone, you don't think of yourself as being a hero or some sort of courageous or enlightened person.
That group often eats its own, too. So it's like
always.
a dangerous group to be in.
Yeah, it's a product in many ways of social media because it's a shit way to communicate with text online like that. It's just not healthy.
Yeah.
It's not wise, and it's not wise to participate in it. It's not wise to dwell in it when it happens to you. It's not wise to go back and forth. And I don't think it's wise if we continue this. I think it's bad for us as a culture and as a civilization. And again, you got to forgive the people that are involved in it as well. I don't think they're bad people. I just think it's a bad decision. And I think it's simple, easy decision, just like it's a simple, easy decision to eat the craft service.
Yeah.
It's right there, but
Right.
it's not the wise thing to do. And, we need more people communicating about all these things that we're talking about. And we need it to be a big part of the conversation of what it means to be a person in today's society. Because you can delve into processed foods, you can get into harmful drugs, you can get into all sorts of things that can fuck yourself up. Or you can decide, like, you know what, I kind of recognize that this has never served me in the past. I've seen all these errors I've made up to this point, and I'm going to choose now to move forward with a different ideal and with different ethics and different morals, and I'm going to try to be a better person, and I'm going to try to treat other people the way I would like to be treated, not pile on them on social media or attack them for some shit that they might have gotten incorrect or whatever, but instead to just recognize, like, this is a terrible way to treat someone you care about. And we should care about everybody. Like, you would never pile on one of your friends on social media, right?
No way.
Of course. So why would you just do it to anybody? Really, it doesn't mean you shouldn't be critical of certain things, and certain things demand critical thinking, and they demand criticism because it allows the other person to recognize that they've erred and that other people see things from a different perspective than they do. But you don't get that from insulting people and being shitty and mean, and that is more common than not. That's the majority of these interactions. It's like people trying to find people who have erred or people who are worthy of attack and then going after them.
Yeah, and I find that people that I could have total disagreement with on any of these things, if I sit down and have a conversation and try to see their point of view, I often do. And I often have empathy, and suddenly they're a real person. But if I take my understanding of them based on something I read or off a tweet or something like this, or how they're discussed amongst other groups of people, then it just becomes like the other, and I want nothing to do with them, and they're scary, and I won't talk to them intentionally. And this to me is non-optimal. This is not the way to.
Yeah, the other's a fucking real weird inclination that we have.
Yeah.
To treat people, and this is why war is so awful, right? Because people are really capable of simple, easy dehumanization of entire races of people.
Yeah.
Entire countries, nations of people. They just decide, fuck the Krauts.
Right.
We're dropping bombs. Fuck these people. We're gonna put them in internment camps. Fuck these people. It's crazy.
Politics today really look like the Catholics fighting the Protestants to me, where you're just like, wait, what are you guys really fighting about?
Right.
You guys are real close.
We're just so tribal, man. Humans are so tribal. It is built into our signals. It's built into our what we are. We evolved in tribes, and we evolved to be fearful of other tribes. And as other tribes are going to do you damage and steal your resources and kill you.
Yeah.
And we haven't gotten past that. And the only way to get past that, I mean, you have to go on a journey, man. You have to figure out for yourself, and each person's personal journey. It's like, think about your personal journey to lose the amount of weight that you did. Fuck, imagine trying to tell someone who's 500 pounds, this is what you're going to have to do.
It's going to take years. And then you're going to work on it for a few more years to try to fucking dial it in once you've done it. Like,
and then the seesaw.
Yeah.
Like when you went back and forth and back and forth. I mean, imagine, like you gained 100 pounds at one point in time, right? Back?
Multiple times.
Imagine trying to tell someone like that about these problems that you're going to encounter.
How about this? I had loose skin removed, fell, injured myself, tore my side open, and then gained 100 pounds.
Jesus.
Yeah, dude, that's fucking real.
That's fucking real. Everybody's journey, this journey to be the optimal version of yourself. Everyone's journey is very different, and we're all in this together. That's the biggest message. And if you think you're not, you're fucked. You're fucked if you think we're not in this together. If you think you're on your own, you're autonomous and fuck the world. Okay, good luck with that, dude.
Right.
Good luck. You're not gonna be happy. We're most happy when we're in this together. We're most happy when when you can work out a disagreement with someone. One of my favorite things about fights is when they hug afterwards.
Yeah,
You know
I love that too. I love it, especially if they talk shit in the beginning.
And then they grab their hand. Give me a hug, you motherfucker. I
Yeah.
love you. And I love it. I really do. I love fights too, but it's very contradicting.
I don't see that enough with the Diaz boys. I wish they were hugging people a little bit more. They talk a lot of shit and they're
Yeah.
so angry, and I love them, but I want to see every now and again them hug the guy.
Well,
after.
him and Connor hugged
Yeah.
after their second fight.
That's true.
Nate did. Yeah, they're hard people, man. It's that's the friendship that comes out of resolving conflict is a beautiful friendship. If you can let things go, people have to learn how to not hold grudges, man. Not holding grudges is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful virtue, and just to let it go. Just let it go. We're all flawed. We're all people.
Yeah.
And we can do this.
Yeah.
Like, it can be done, but it takes work. And I'm not good at it all the time either. I'm talking a lot of shit right now, but sometimes I'm an angry person as well. And like, I came here straight from the gym, so I feel great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
I went to the
part
gym
of
this
it.
morning too.
Yeah, that's part of it. Like, I worked out all my shit.
Yeah.
But if you caught me like 3 days in a row, no gym, who knows, man? Maybe I'd be like, fuck them and fuck this, and I have an inclination towards that. I have an inclination towards aggression and say fuck you and fuck this and fuck that, and I try real hard to avoid that inclination and to get better. And it's not better in like one fell swoop. It's like I don't learn it from one mistake and now I'm better. It's like I need to make a gang of mistakes and keep recognizing that I made those mistakes and better. And I think we need to have that leeway, not just personally for ourselves, because we, generally if you're healthy, you try to give yourself a little leeway for mistakes. We need to have that leeway for other people.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this on the way over here when I was thinking about felons, like felons that can't vote. Like, you get arrested when you're 17 for robbing a bank, and then you can never vote for the rest of your life. And does that make sense?
I mean, we could just take what our mutual friend Michael Malice has to say about voting and talk about how all votes are an act of violence, or they're all illegal and nobody should be voting at all.
Yeah, but he's crazy. Michael he's such a freak. There's no one like Michael Malice. I love that guy. He's such a fun dude. But he's also like, he's so smart that he can argue these really untenable positions. Like, there should be no police. There's no police. I'm like, bro, I'll steal everything you have if there's no police. What are you talking about?
Okay, but
what if I'm a bad guy?
Would you,
No,
if
of course
you're a
not
bad
me.
guy?
But if I was a bad guy, for sure.
I think about this sometimes, and I think about, like, you go back to ancient Rome, and there weren't explicit laws against murder. Eventually, and I mean like 700 years into the Roman Empire, they made laws about killing slaves because they were just like, people are killing too many slaves. You shouldn't just kill your slaves. But that took a long time. Up until then, it wasn't like people were just killing like, there was murder, it happened, but it wasn't like chaos of people killing right and left. I think of like people in jail for murder, and I think we have laws against murder, and people still murder. And I don't know that I've never murdered somebody because there's a law. I just don't want to murder people.
But I think we're different now than we were back then, just because the moral environment that we're evolving in. So many people are communicating about the sadness of losing loved ones, and you see it. It's more personal. That information reaches you. Whereas back then, again, they were the other. If you murdered someone, they were the other.
Yeah.
I think there's certain things though, like you take a child's life, you stab a child. Like I can't.
Ancient Rome.
Yeah.
The parents were allowed to kill their kids.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Really?
It was up to the parents.
Wow.
And there were some rules about if the kid was really disfigured, you had to kill it.
Oh my God!
There were some like strong inclinations.
Oh, so if the child was born disfigured?
Yeah, but like, I mean, I forget exactly the language, but like, yeah, that was left up to the family. If the father and mother decided, so they find like pits, and they were basically just buried at the house. Pits where over hundreds of years, tons of kids were just getting buried because potentially they were killed by their family. That's rough. That's not how we live today.
Well, the Spartans, didn't they take some babies that were weak and they just leave them in the woods?
Yeah.
Fucking A, man.
It was a different time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not advocating for any of that.
No, of
I
course.
hope that's clear.
No,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at Steven Pinker's work when he talks about violence over the course of history, when
It's a lot less.
Yeah, a lot less. When people want to think about the world today as opposed to the world of the past, they want to make this this judgment that today's filled with monsters and assholes and, society's fucked. Like, it's the best time to live ever. Ever.
But wasn't it always?
Yes. Every
Yeah.
time that people have ever been.
Right.
Except
the dark
maybe,
ages.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
There
was rough.
There were some times
Yeah.
where the shit hit the fan.
Or a severe famine,
Yeah.
the Dutch winter famine. That was a rough thing to
Black
live through.
Plague.
Yeah.
It's probably better a couple years before the plague.
Yeah, and then after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen, brother, we just did more than 3 fucking hours.
I love it. Joe,
Believe it.
my wife will yell at me if I don't say I do have a podcast called American Glutton where all we talk about is diet. So if anybody's interested, please tune in.
And it's on iTunes, Spotify,
Yeah.
everywhere.
All those things.
All right, beautiful.
Yeah.
Dude, thank you so much, man.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
That was an awesome conversation.
I've been a fan for years.
Thanks,
so
brother.
thank
I'm
you.
a fan of yours, too. Can we do this again?
I would love to.
Let's do it again.
Yes.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.